and I'm excited, and there's a lot to talk about, and it's a never-ending fire hose of news. So welcome to HAL Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. And
I might have been the first like.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
You're on it
pretty
today.
excited about that, yeah.
Well, we'll be up and running in a moment. Let's see, is Chicago trying to message us? Oh, someone you're good. Can't see you in the chats. Hey, you're live, boss. Oh, hey, there we go. That's good. Seconds ago. Somehow I don't know how to talk to you through this. I see. Okay. All right. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we're on the air, Johnny Million. We are on the air.
They just don't know how to talk to us?
Yeah, they just snuck up on us. They didn't let us know.
Just be yourself, Chicago.
Yeah, that's right. Don't be afraid. Don't be a wallflower, WCPT. You got a chance. It's whatever weird, like the hour and 25-minute mark in a teen rom-com movie from 1986. The ballad is playing. Cross that floor. Don't be afraid. It's Chicago saying we love you. Well, that
was me. I said we love you.
Oh, you said that. Oh, I see. I thought I got it all. I shouldn't expect so much.
What?
And you're right, it doesn't, absolutely. All right, well, we'll be, until we get some audio from them that we can, when we go to breaks or whatever, I may blow past breaks, we may not care. It's a crazy Saturday. It's welcome to the year. Lots of news, obviously. My favorite piece of the news lately is, I don't know if you can listen really carefully. You might have to put your head up to a window or something, but far in the distance, some may be closer than others, depending on where you live and where you're listening to the show from. You'll hear kind of a womp wah like that. You'll hear that sound, maybe muffled because it's over a hillside, over a hill or two, in the distance, because someone has just walked up to Marjorie Taylor Greene and Greg Kelly on Newsmax and all the Fox hosts and just played a loud trombone note in their ear, because today is the day that they are all finding out, unfortunately, and it's a Saturday, so it gives them time to emotionally deal with it, about Executive Order 13526. Yes, they just found out. They don't know. They didn't know before, and now they know about it. And if you don't know, and by the way, if you're a troll or you hate listening to the show, I would cover my ears right now lightly in case the trombone player shows up. Yeah, you might want to hear about this so you know how wrong you are, which is part of the joy of my job. But also, you just in case the trombone player, shows up like a demon out of it, like just rises up out of sulfur smoke and goes whoop, 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 right in your ear. You just be prepared.
That sounds great, by the way.
Thank you. It's pretty good. Executive Order 13526, interestingly enough, is an executive order written during the Obama administration that Donald Trump never rescinded because he didn't care. He only rescinded the stuff that had any news about it, that, he only did stuff for show. So therefore, he only counteracted things that he thought were for show or that showed success by previous administrations. So everything else, he was caught off guard multiple times. I mean, I'll give you an example. He went after the pandemic response team because it had Obama's name all over it. But he blew off all kinds of things like this. And Executive Order 13526 is the one that Obama signed while he was in office that allows vice presidents to declassify documents on the same level as a president.
That's weird.
Yeah. And so if they are going, Trump had the magical declassification power, if that's their defense, then so did Biden when he was just a vice president.
Do we want it both ways? Do we want it both ways?
Interestingly enough, I don't think so. And as a matter of fact, I think the vice president, the fact that he could do it, it still didn't change his behavior about the stuff once they found them. He treated them like they should be treated.
Yeah, he said, oh my goodness. He told them right away.
Right.
They didn't have to subpoena anything. They didn't have to go to his house.
That's right. And so the entire, it's just fun. I have to say, but part of the joy of my current job as a semi-professional, as a pro-am live streamer, that's the way I look at it.
You started am, but now you're pro.
That's right. I'm pro. Yeah, I'm pro am. I kind of, it's like a glorified hobby that, I love too much to give up. But one of the fun parts about it, and it's really almost become, I don't know if it's, you could classify it as a battle scar, or you can classify it as just like a lesson learned, or simply like my favorite thing about an unpleasant task. But I have to say, looking off into the distance of a spiking talking point that I know is going to die, is one of my favorite. Like, remember lumber prices? Think about. I'll give you another example. Eggs right now. So eggs are expensive right now because 50 million chickens were culled because of avian flu. Not because of inflation. That's why they don't match all the other groceries. That's why there's a lot of 2-for-1s on almost every other grocery items you see. Even though the price might be higher, you're getting double for half. So they're your regular grocery is trying to act like Costco. Yeah.
And I've got a thing against chickens. I mean, I love chicken. I love eggs. But chickens themselves?
Yes. Well, you spend a lot of time around a cat, and he probably whispers things in your ears while you're.
That might be it.
While you're saying, kill them, and bring them to me. They're horrible. So
I developed the avian flu that
right. So the avian allergy, the avian aversion. But yeah, so. All over the world, it's a problem, but in the United States in particular, somewhere in the order of 50 million chickens were culled. It takes about 8 to 12 weeks, I think, for a chicken to reach. I want to say if that's right. Yeah, 8 to 12 weeks for a chicken from being a chick to being an egg-laying hen takes about that long. So lay that time frame on the availability of eggs going forward.
So you're saying we'll never see the end of this?
No, I'm saying that just.
So what you're saying is that there is no end in sight.
Opposite of what I'm saying. I'm saying that you can actually.
As always, we're on the same page.
That's right. I thank you. But you can. The amazing part about the egg thing is you can literally track out how much it is, and you can look at the market around commodities, and they already know this. And it's like gas prices in California right now, which was big stories about how the gas, like winter gas costs are going way up. That's because California, like a lot of other big economies, pre-buys their gas early in the year to make sure they have it. So the price from the winter is set in the spring and summer. And that's when gas was at its highest. Gas that is bought and stored now, or if they use too much, which is the interesting thing because California doesn't normally use that much, so compared to other states because it's warm most of the time, that cost will diminish, but by the time winter's over, it won't matter. And next year it'll be way cheaper.
He doesn't buy eggs, and he's got money to throw at us.
Oh, thanks. I have a little extra money because I don't buy eggs. Oh, thanks, Sal Vickery. I appreciate that. And Berkeley Dowd, thank you for the super chat. And Lisa Mia Moore, thank you for the super chat. And Erica, thank you for the super chat. And Larry, thank you guys. Yeah, Bobby Brunswick, lovely. And Shadow Woman, thank you so much for those. They've been doing so many great gifted subs on Twitch, twitch.tv/HalSparks.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, it's really great. It's really awesome. So anyways,
my money is apparently no good here because every time I try to gift subs, I always get this refund back.
Yeah, because they hate you. It's it's the chicken that works inside your computer. We have to take a break. I'm going to say, you chickens. I'll tell you in my family, if you say chickens, someone will go chickens. Like, honestly, it's a running gag in my family. Chickens that has been going on since I was 2. And definitely before, but that's when I first became aware of chickens. So
I love a running gag like that.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Oh, and I also get to say poop picker upper. Happy birthday, poop picker upper.
In our chat room? Lovely. Okay. You get to say happy birthday. Aw, that's wonderful. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this, and we'll figure out why Chicago can't hear us and can't be heard and all that fun stuff. But we'll be back right after this. It's the HAL Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide.
And Aaron West is a member again.
Oh my gosh, Poop Picker Upper, thank you. Yes, I am celebrating going into my 63rd birthday with my friend. Oh, that's awesome.
Fantastic.
Such lovely people, I have to say.
Gators fan 601. Gators fan 601. How much is it for 5 eggs? It's probably enough to buy 666
Fifth Avenue. Yep, absolutely.
Fifth Avenue, yeah.
Did you know that one of the right wing turned fake left wing talkers, this girl Shoe on Head, has she's got a Patreon. No. She's independent, but and I've enjoyed. She's entertaining, so I've enjoyed her over the years, even if I disagree with her, because she's not mean spirited. Mm-hmm. She was a lot of them launched during this anti-BLM phase that was all so coordinated it was weirdly spooky. And it wasn't that they in particular got money from Russia or something to go after BLM in America. It was that oddly enough, if there's 65 people talking about particular topics that are leaning right wing on YouTube at one particular time, only the ones that were going after BLM rose during that time. And it's a weird thing. Like I remember looking at it and going, do these guys all check in with each other? Are they roommates? What the hell? Anyways, she shut off her Twitter and closed her YouTube and everything because she had a setting on her Patreon that was $50,000 for me to shut up. And somebody did it. Somebody paid her $50,000 to stop talking.
That's amazing.
It's incredible. It's like, I don't know what.
To it.
I guess, well, you would. You have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Much like Elon Musk saying that he would step down if he lost that poll, which he lost.
Right. Little different. Also, Chicago's going to have to let us know when we're back on the air. I'm just going to keep chit-chatting like we're just beginning here because that's how we operate. Do I just keep the chat open in there? Is that how we're going to figure this out? Yep. Chicago, give me a 10-second when you do it because it'll reach me and I'll shave 3 seconds off of it, and that's how we'll know. But and then at some point they'll figure out there's a talkback mic and it goes through the thing, and anyways, it doesn't matter. You're listening to the HAL Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. And I'll just say
not be on WCPT. Maybe I should bring up WCPT and see what's going on. What's the delay like, you think?
About a minute and a half. It'll work perfectly.
Yeah, that'll be handy.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll just... Well, we are broadcasting directly, for those of you that don't know and are only listening on radio, from the International Space Station right now. So there's always... and the worst part is Chris Matthews is working the board. So there's no one knows how a delay works. Also, I will say this, and hopefully we won't have an issue with any of the... gotcha. Okay.
What'd they say?
They're going to restart their end of things and try to come back. We'll be all good. So we'll hang on. We'll keep chit-chatting, and you'll find us. They'll run a commercial, and then we'll come back, and if we hear audio, we'll be fine.
So
but in the meantime,
I'm going to type boner,
we've got people in in our chat
in the chat
that we can talk to all we want. So I was talking about before, if we can get back on topic, and I think that we can.
You know what? I'm sorry. I actually missed super chat from Bobby Brunswick. He said he was giving $10 as a tithe for Hal Vickery because he gives $100 on paydays. I didn't know that we had to tithe Hal Vickery.
We do. Saint Hal, which is I think we should call him Saint Vickery, so there's no confusion.
Yes,
and I'm not held to an impossible standard for me. There you go. And so ultimately, I enjoy this. Watching this, like the arc of a talking point. Just this one was so fast. Mm-hmm. Oh, and I suppose at the same time I should explain to people a little media. You want to know some insider media stuff, Johnny Million?
Talk to me.
All right. So you know about the Friday night news dump. Not yours.
I learned about that from Rachel Maddow.
That's right. And it's healthy, and you got to keep a lot of fiber in your diet. But the Friday night news dump is sort of especially it was developed or kind of emerged during a time when we didn't have 24-hour news cycles. So it's ever so slightly less effective now. But human beings are human beings, and our habits and our attitudes have not changed all that much in the last, 100 years, honestly. Mm-hmm. And so even though we do have 24-hour news, and there are certainly people like myself and the activist class on either side all over the Twitterverse and that drink from the fire hose of news all the time, most people don't. Most people Friday after work don't want to think about anything because they've been thinking for a living.
They want to tune out.
Yes, and they want to do it all weekend and relax and all that kind of stuff. So it still works. Even with this thing. Do I need that? Is that a signal?
No, that was just for you, my man.
All right. So Johnny's putting on chapstick if you're listening on the radio now. Just because it's starting an OnlyFans. He's starting an OnlyFans. So somebody tipped him to do it. What can I say?
Like $50,000.
Right. So just so you know, I just want to clue you in on this. The first 2 weeks of January are the Friday night after 6 o'clock of the entire year. There's actually one almost, midway through the year in that August used to be a dead month for news because it's end of summer vacation, beginning of school. And so everybody's too caught up in getting their kids to school and doing all this kind of stuff to actually, pay any attention to any big news stories. So legislation tends to get launched around then so that it will only get, the opponents of it will only get so much attention. That happens a lot. But the first 2 weeks of January are the Bermuda Triangle of news most of the time. And Republicans know this because they've used it for years. And last night we went through a clip of the most miserable man on the internet, Greg Kelly from Newsmax, who, knows a thing or two about the crime because his dad was the police commissioner of New York, and his accusations against him of sexual assault magically went away at the same time. It's an interesting timing. Anyways, never mind. I guess it helps. Maybe it doesn't. Who knows?
Sure.
Anyways, he in the middle of his big rant about Joe Biden's worse than Trump because he gave them back immediately. I don't know literally the logic falls apart. But he said the quiet part out loud that a lot of these folks have been freaking out about, which is, at one point, I know this news story is going to fade, but we can't let it. And so he was kind of reminding his viewers and himself and the right-wing media sphere some nonsense. They were trying to remind them, Chicago's just not even there. Are they trying again and again? They might be back. Hopefully, we're going to keep on track. Hopefully, Chicago will just say hi the second they can get audio to us. They see us. By the way, that is not the normal screen I see from Chicago, no. Johnny Million. Not at all, which might be part of the confusion for them. I think that might be it. I'm gonna go with that. But either way, we're back on the air, I hope. Maybe. Hi, Chicago. Welcome. Glad you could be here. I just said a bunch of brilliant stuff that you're going to have to go to infotainmentwars.com. We have the documents. People are throwing themselves at me. I never pay for dessert.
Chocolate cake.
Yeah, chocolate cake. I only eat chocolate cake at events that are against people that I accuse of murder who may or may not have sprayed something on it. Anyways, I don't know why.
Can I totally redirect you one more time, Hal?
You may.
My mother-in-law is a fan of the
hi.
SPARKS. Yeah, mm-hmm. And she listens sometimes, and every time she listens, she always talks to me later and goes, "He just goes and goes," which is so great. And I was like, yes, he does. Yeah, and I was like, yeah, he's done that since he was 16 years old.
That's right.
She said, I will always remember when I was listening one time, and his mother came in to say that she had just hit his rental car.
Right. Yes.
And I don't think I was on with you. And it just makes me so happy that that's like her big memory from it.
Right. Yeah. I was doing the show at my mom's house, like on, like family vacation, like visiting her with my, doing the bring the kid around the country on tour thing that you do on the holidays, where you drag the children to everybody and wag them in front of all the relatives, Yeah.
And she interrupted the show.
Yeah. She came in. I just hit your rental. It doesn't matter. It's a rental. I get the loss damage waiver because of my mom. Anyways, so I recommend it because of my mom. Even if you don't know my mom, there's as much of a chance of her hitting your rental car as it was of hitting mine. It can happen.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, yeah, that's right. Get the LDW because of my mom. Anyway, so
it's still commercials on the radio, by the way.
Oh, okay, good. All right. So you think it was a minute and 20 seconds ago? We'll see.
Oh, true.
Yeah. So I'm just going to keep chatting and reminding people you're listening to the HAL Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, or you're watching it live with all the fun kind of almost behind the scenes stuff that we do during the commercial breaks.
Like PG-13 swear.
That's right. I have to watch myself because sometimes we let
we go R-rated. Yeah.
Yeah, we do during the break. So my goal will be from like the half and quarter hour breaks at 15 minutes and 30 minutes and 45 for at least 2 minutes. I will be really worried about what I say because I'm pretty good at when we're running, not slipping. Although, it gets hard when I'm doing my regular show and there's no rules. Yeah, that's good. Anyways, so where were we? Oh, yes. We were at the Biden documents dying talking points story where the Republicans fundamentally do not understand the issue. The issue of classified documents at any given time, while concerning, not being in the folder they're supposed to be in the drawer they're supposed to be in the White House or a SCIF or at NARA or any of those places, while concerning, must be treated with due diligence once you're aware of it. That's fine. That's as long as you're not sneaking it out and trying to sell it, or you're sneaking it out and trying to store it in multiple places to hide it from the people who came to pick it up because you're not supposed to have it in the first place. You're kind of cool. And let me take a break. Let's go. We're right at the 30, so let's take a break. We'll be back right after this. And it's the HAL Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
See what happens.
I'm just going to pretend we're going to break. I'm going to time it from now. So give me 2 minutes, and then we'll act like we're coming back, whether we hear them or not. It's very curious. So
now I'm just going to start swearing.
Yeah. Fraggity. So
they keep saying that we're still in commercial. They may have not come back because they're trying to figure out the sound.
It's entirely possible. There's a lot going on the screen. And by the way, Chicago, just so you know, I think you might be on the wrong computer because it's just a different. We're seeing a different.
Computer.
I've never seen that. Computer. Isn't that quaint? Computer. Crack. So there's so much fun. Oh, by the way, since we're in break, happy birthday, Dave Grohl.
What?
Today's Dave Grohl's birthday.
Oh, I've got to put that down somewhere. We're about the same age as he, aren't we?
Yeah, he's a year older than us.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Raymond Kuna.
Lovely.
Raymond
don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe, by the way.
Yeah. Says that the HAL Sparks show is his Saturday antidote. I was going to say the letters, but every time I do, I'm afraid I'm spelling something obscene. I'm not going to.
I understand. Again. Yeah, not again. Oh, 1 Adam 12, or which one? Some of the fun folks, Roger and Out, who's in there, Manchita. Which, by the way, Manchita, your name reminds me of a Wasp song. Just saying.
That's on The Last Command, isn't it?
Nope. It's on Inside the Electric Circus.
Oh, yeah. Probably the last good one.
I don't know. I like Still Not Black Enough. And I like...
You do?
I do. I hate how it's mixed.
Yeah.
It sounds like garbage, but the songs are great.
Okay.
I wish somebody...
Did he do Paint It Black on that one?
Yes. And he did the cover of Find Somebody to Love, which his voice fits perfectly.
Yeah, it does.
Because he sounds like Bonnie Tyler. That's why I've part of the secret of Wasp's success on the radio is because his voice sounds vaguely like Bonnie Tyler, and she was very popular at the time. Yeah, he does, and it was a weird crossover. He's got yeah.
I was playing some for my wife.
I thought I heard Chicago for a split second. I was so excited, and then I was wrong. Anyways, we're back. We're just going to call it back. Hi, everybody. You're listening to HAL Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. It's the freewheeling Saturday version because
we're talking about WASP.
For a change, I sound fine and Johnny sounds fine, but Chicago can't be heard. Like it's not my problem. Thankfully, this is literally this is out of my hands, and I feel so good about it. It's just lovely. There is so much to the there's so much blind side to the Biden documents case that it's obvious that they were going to hammer on this the second it came up, and it's very smart of the White House to, once the story comes out, it is clear that they discovered these documents when they were closing this office, and the story is. Lawyers are there because they're supposed to gather certain things, private documents and the like, and those are the only people that can legally see some of these things because it involves, I don't know, contracts and blah, blah, blah. So anyways, they're doing that part of it, the legal team, and then there's they'll hire cleaners to come after, I don't know, whatever. And they find this and they're like, oh, this is classified. Closes the file immediately, calls the National Archives, notifies them that they have them, and then they pick them up. I think it was within 6 hours, within 6 hours.
That is pretty different.
Yeah. 6 hours, a year and 3 months. And
how many literal legal threats had to be made?
None.
And denied.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they gave all the boxes that were around them, which were largely full of personal items, and said, we haven't looked through these yet. You look through them. And if there's anything classified in there, you take it out and we'll do it. Like, they didn't even bother.
They knew that those other boxes were used sex toys and that was going to be really embarrassing for them.
Totally. But they did it anyways.
They did it anyway.
Right. Well, as vice president, you get a lot of weird gifts from other countries. Anyways,
secondhand.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Come on. I think the dog shoot on this.
Well, look, I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum. Listen, the important thing is that they immediately afterwards, really, they're playing a rerun of me right now, or is it or does this just sound the same? Like we're saying the same thing over and again. This sounds like no other show. I would say for the record,
totally new.
So yeah. Anyways, hopefully they'll get it going by the next hour because Philip Bittner will be joining us from an
Wes says that you're not on the air.
From an undisclosed location. Yeah, I can't even say where he is.
Went on a rerun on CPT, so we can let this flag fly.
All right. Well, but they're still up, so I'm worried that they'll go, there it is, and flip a switch, and then I'll go, fucking a doodle.
I'll serve them right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, what the fuck? And then they have to dump me, and pushing the dump button triggers some sort of thing they didn't know would happen, and shuts, and all the lights at the station go out, and then the tower falls over, and driving miles away, a man driving in his car listening to the show, who just his radio fritzes, and he crashes into a tree. It's a Rube Goldberg accident waiting to happen. So, all right, well, yeah, good. Let's shows. Then we can kind of. This is interesting, Johnny, because you and I have never, in many ways,
get to do this.
We don't absolutely. We don't get to go without breaks and actually talk about stuff. So, anyways, singing with Bruce Kulick. All right, so yeah, totally derailed. Yeah, exactly. That was so fun. Anyways, so I want to remind everybody who's listening that the documents thing, the best part, the part to watch for is, I would say, 4 months from now. It may even be sooner, but it'll be really frustrating 4 months from now when Republicans are trying to goose this into something and it keeps getting batted down by how much worse Trump was. And Trump's own people are like, dude, ixnay, because if you want him to go to jail for it, our charges are way worse. and they're gonna have to flatten their own tires.
Yeah, if you want any kind of parody on this, it's gonna be ugly.
Yeah, the knife cuts both ways.
Yeah.
So, I mean, fairly hilarious. Not as hilarious as, and largely because there were no human lives lost or injuries, but the Hobby Lobby that got hit in Georgia by the tornado, and the strip club like right across the street didn't get hit. I just think there must be someone from a local megachurch standing in the parking lot really confused right now. Just something's turned their world upside down. You mean if I'd have been in there, I'd have been dead. And if I'd have been in there, I'd have been safe. But yeah, I'm starting to understand why Swaggart went where he went. So there's a couple other things we'll get to, obviously. I want to save all the Ukraine stuff for when Phil shows up. But ultimately,
apparently Phil's already on WCPT. That's what chat's saying.
Oh, right. They're listening to him from last week. It's going to be all Philip Bittner if they pop in the second hour. It's going to be spectacular. So there's one thing I think we can address, and it's, I try to find things that Johnny knows the least about. But the Bolsonaro Lula thing is like pretty hilarious, I have to say. Because Bolsonaro is the Trumpy in this situation. He was anti-vax. He was pro-ivermectin. He was lining up with Trump. He was, he literally, he jailed or had jailed Lula to keep him from being able to run against him in the election. And Lula is, in a manner of speaking, politically, to the left of Harvey Milk's testicles, as I am wont to say. That dude is, he's one of these dudes who has like, Marx's works in, not on his nightstand, but playing on tape as he sleeps, right? Like, he's really a left-leaning dude. He's super left. So it's very strange to me at the people. It doesn't surprise me then when, Tucker Carlson or Alex Jones or Steve Bannon are against him, because that fits the brand to some degree. It's very weird when the Glenn Greenwalds of the world and the Jimmy Dores of the world go after Lula and consider him an authoritarian, but Bolsonaro is this poor dude who, really won, but he was cheated out of the election by Dominion voting machines. And like, they are literally, Glenn Greenwald and Mike Pillow are buddies in this. They are arm in arm in their argument about what's going on. And it makes no frigging sense, except for
Karen Byrne.
I think there's one reason, and Glenn Greenwald, I guess, lives in Brazil with his husband on this weird hilltop where he started his porn production company. And again, not here to yuck anybody's yum.
Okay.
But he apparently liked to be referred to as the Dominherren, meaning like man and woman, but also Dom man or whatever, and would produce a porn down there in Brazil, blah, blah, blah. And who cares to some degree? I mean, as long as you're not Andrew Tating it, it's between you and an adult person who wants to do whatever the hell. I don't care. Apparently he went down there to, jumpstart that. And then The Intercept started with magic money from a corporate millionaire, by the way, which is odd. And, I see Chicago popping back on with the off chance that they might be able to get to us. So watch your mouth. Yeah, I know. It's very exciting.
Come on, you effers.
They're working on something. Yeah, there you go. Up there where the microphone, choose which. I see them choosing the audio source. And the question is, will they be able to feed their voice through the audio source and Chicago? It's going to happen. I know it. Yeah, someone check Glenn's hard drives. Yes, that's definitely going to happen. So Glenn is full on anti-Ukraine, full on pro-Bolsonaro, And one of the interesting things, I think this is the only part that's really, truly germane to the conversation that we're having in the United States around censorship and other stuff, is that, first of all, Brazil and other countries like it do not have the same free speech rules that we do. Certainly not the UK and a lot of EU nations. So they don't play. Because of the propaganda from Russia and from Germany that they dealt with over many decades, they have very strict rules about what kind of foreign influence and how much of a foreign voice you can prop up in the country before they can shut you down. And and Lula basically right now is doing similar things to what they freak out about Zelensky doing, which is closing down political parties and closing down like news sources. But the reason they're doing it is because they are not legit news sources. They are genuinely mouthpieces of other countries. Now, in the United States, one of the big stories that came up was that, and you'll hear this from everybody who was kicked off RT, like Lee Camp and that crowd. You'll hear that the U.S., banned and censored RT because they can't handle the truth or something. RT folded up its tent and split. And the reason they did it, the Russians did it to themselves, is because eventually they were going to start losing hosts in the United States who could no longer support the war. And they knew it, so they shut it down. They couldn't, remember the woman who stood up with the cardboard sign in Russia and to stop the war? And she had to flee. I think she and her daughter fled to Italy. They put her on house arrest, and then they tried her again, and then they put her back on house arrest, and then she snuck out, and they went to the house and it was empty. She left the country. Okay. If they're going to have a problem with somebody like that inside their country, that's what their concern was about RT in general. That all the American hosts that were, that live here would all start going, I'm obviously against the special military operation. It's really a war and Russia shouldn't be doing this. And that's too much for the Kremlin. So they shut it down. The UK turned them off, but the United States did not. They left on their own. And by the way, because it would eat into their propaganda, it would eat into the message that they were trying to, corral everyone into. Because even the tanky lefties, can't applaud mass grave sites and bombing of civilian infrastructure not across a country that isn't, that never fired on. Form. Yeah, it is. It just makes it hard to show up at a Bernie rally next year or year after next. So yeah, a little hard, I guess, but whatever. Anyways, you can show up at a MTG rally though. That's fun, and you'll be applauded. But that Lula has gone on this. Has been going through these and kicking some of these things off the air or banning certain websites and that kind of stuff. Because in his view and in their view and in, for the health of their country, they do not see those as Brazilians arguing with Brazilians about their internal politics. They view it as the big malign interests in the world, recognizing the resources that are available in Brazil and trying to manipulate the populace to alter their leadership against what their best interests so that they can come in and take those resources, because that's Brazil's bread and butter, is oil and gas and minerals and resources and agriculture. And so all these countries that need it or want to be able to manipulate the price of oil and gas, for example, they want control over Venezuela and Brazil so that they can force the nationalized industries there to either raise or lower their prices at any given time. Because it's the way OPEC, think of the way the Saudis kind of have the rest of the OPEC countries in a bit of a chokehold. Not OPEC plus, but the Middle Eastern ones. So that's exactly what they're doing. Now, there is a slippery slope that is very concerning between what we have in the United States, which is pretty much all hands on deck. And if a company wants to dust you off their platform, that's their prerogative, but the government can't have a hand in it, versus China, which is, again, putting an internet cloche over the top of the country, shutting off all contact. They've got armies of VPN hunters constantly shutting down the use of VPNs inside the country. That is wholly different. And it's a fascinating thing to see, the debate going on about how much is too much, how far is too far.
Sure.
And in this particular case, they seem to be trying to strike a balance, because there's still obviously voices inside Brazil that are pushing back, voices inside the country that are, feeling they feel free to criticize Lula or praise Bolsonaro or vice versa. Internally, this group of people gathered and had their own little Jan 6, which I think many people saw. The only difference was, of course, was that their version of Jan 6, if you use the American system, would have come like January 29th of 2021, after the president was sworn in, after it was all said and done. Jan 6 was trying to interrupt a process. In Brazil, they were 2 weeks late. Yeah. It's interesting to me to see, though, we saw the same talking points freak out between the Bolsonaro supporters and Lula and the Brazilians in general, in that half of the right-wing vlogosphere, including Glenn Greenwald in this crowd, were praising the rioters that took over their parliament building and all that kind of stuff, and wrecked stuff and pooped on statues and all that, whatever they were doing. Very Jan 6, red hat wearing, the whole deal. And the people who are saying this is actually Lula supporters pretending that they are doing this so that to make Bolsonaro look bad while he's vacationing in Florida or something. So it just like it was Antifa and BLM. The whitest BLM members in the world attacked the Capitol on Jan 6th. It's the same people we're having to wrestle with the problematic aspect of that talking point. Because on the one hand, a lot of these Jan 6ers who are in jail are proud of what they did. It's why they're still in jail, by the way. The ones that were standing right next to them that did the exact same thing. If on day one they told the judge, I'm so sorry, I got swept up, it's wrong, it's not something I really believe in, I just thought we're under orders from the president, and that's ridiculous in retrospect.
There's always a way out.
They were allowed to go home. The dude who literally struck Fanon with the flagpole had a buddy with him the whole day, broke stuff. They were all together. They all did it. They were lockstep the entire day. The only difference is the guy with the flagpole said, yeah, I did it and I'll do it again. And he said it in video, and he said it in court, and he said it at his bail hearing, and they were spitting on guards, telling him they were going to give him COVID, and that stuff comes out at your bail hearing, you're going to stay. I'm sorry. You're going to stay locked up. But the person right next to him who did all the same shit, and I can say that because Chicago's currently not here.
Yeah, they're not on it all right now.
Right, yeah, they're blinking on and off. Bless their hearts. They must be scrambling right now, and I just want to give them all a hug. We love you, Chicago, if you're watching this. We do. So they're having this, the same problem with these, like the Brazilian side of this, because a lot of the people who attacked the Capitol on behalf of Bolsonaro were doing it proudly, espousing it in videos. Interestingly enough, more of them showing their faces than even the Jan 6ers, because there were a lot of masked Jan 6ers too, a lot of balaclavas and stuff, right? And but they were like proudly saying it. So when you tell them, you know what, you put your life on the line attacking the Capitol to seize back the country for freedom and all this stuff, and then you end up like the people you were doing it for, you put your life on the line to do it for. Chicago, listen to that.
Hal,
look at that.
Can you hear us?
Yes, we can.
Oh, thank God. Woo.
Hey, Chicago, everybody in this town.
Look at Chicago.
Everybody give Dylan a round of applause.
Dylan, look at you.
Dylan. I think I called it. And you'll see what a parahood is like.
Give me my money. That's right.
Give me my money.
The metro, which is really deep.
Okay, so if you guys are okay with this, why don't we come back at noon? Like, we'll take the break and we'll come back at 12.
We'll do the second hour.
It looks like.
We'll do the second hour. Yeah, that's totally fine.
Perfect.
So you guys play that.
WCPT will get 2 happy endings because they just had one.
Oh, nice. Well, yeah. Okay, excellent. That works. The world is a buster.
Anyhow.
Perfect. So we'll come back then, and we're doing a replay right now. So.
I hear you. Yeah. So let everybody know we'll be up in the next hour.
Asks, is the onset of winter changing the military?
Okay, I'm going to mute it though.
Thanks for your patience, guys.
Absolutely. No problem. I'm gonna like. Can you guys mute that signal coming our way?
No.
I guess not.
That's a Chicago big no from Philip.
Yeah, that's nil. That was literally Philip from last week telling me no.
Getting a winter, but this is
okay. Yeah, so I'll mute it on my end. Chicago, just so you know, I have you muted until the top of the next hour. We're good though. Don't touch anything. You know what? I feel like that made up for the many years of me on the side just. Flipping out, trying to flip switches and pushing buttons everywhere. So I think, okay, if we can stay on some sort of point, because we're going to have to, I think, at some point.
Next hour we have. And
next hour we got.
Phil is going to join us.
Yes, he is. Oh, he's definitely going to be here. So it'll be a double dose of Phil. My one of the things that's trending right now is this whole like. Where's the FBI? Why is the FBI not coming after Joe Biden? Why are they not knocking his door down? Why are they not raiding his properties? I'll tell you why. Because his people already looked. They were in conversation with NARA and gave all the stuff back. And the fascinating part, I love this part especially, is that apparently NARA didn't know these were missing. These are copies, more than likely, of stuff that was relatively innocuous at the time and didn't amount to the kind of stuff that they're like, be on the lookout in case there's any stuff in the wind about this, or this. And ultimately, they're going to ride this out, like the Republicans are going to ride this out, but it's going to collapse. They're going to use this to try and keep people off of Trump. But it ultimately is not going to work, because the primary issue here is not the mishandling of classified documents, if indeed that's what happened. And again, the idea that
it's the reaction to it.
It's what you do, right? It's what you do. If you pick up,
they always say it's the cover up that kills you.
Yes, it's the cover up is always worse than the crime, and It's like one of those things where you pick up identical suitcases, identical briefcases, identical shopping bags, and you pick up the wrong one, and the stuff in it is worth more than the stuff that was in yours, and you make the choice to put back or give back the other one because that's what you're supposed to do, America. Yeah. That is the primary issue that Republicans have a hard time dealing with, and I have to say that. One of the things you can enjoy, and I always look for the secret to happiness in life is finding the joy in the things you cannot change. Things that are just happening.
Acceptance.
Yeah, exactly. But beyond acceptance, like what's fun about this? And what's really fun about this is watching the clamor go on. And by the way, Republicans felt the same way about all the people who were like, why isn't Mueller arresting Trump? Right? All that talk that you've seen from our side of the aisle over the years, and how much the Republicans enjoyed that. There's a similar joy you can feel about it from this end, especially because of the material and ethical difference between the two cases. Because Trump is so awful in everything that he does, and which is why I would like to bring up in our as we fade into the next hour, the E. Jean Carroll deposition stuff that came out. Did you see any of that, Johnny Million?
No, I'm so behind. I just found out that Diamond died.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, Diamond passed away. And by the way, Silk was on Twitter and I'm sure Truth and other places yelling that there's no proof it was COVID. No one told you it was COVID, which to me means it's COVID, because they know the hospital won't tell anybody who isn't family, and if it gets out, you just say it's a rumor and whatever. Let me show you a little something here.
That sucks. We don't
It sucks,
wish
right? Nope.
that on anybody.
No.
It makes me angry about the misinformation.
Yes, it's brutally sad and unnecessary. It's just like hideous across the board. And again, I will always prefer arguing with someone as bullheaded and stupid and misinformed or ignorant or gullible as they may be over someone's death. Like, yep. I'm not interested. I am not interested in any of these people passing away. And it's, and by the way, I think that's a valuable ethical space to be in. Let me show you something real quick, though, Johnny, because you're going to love this.
Okay. This
is from the E. Jean Carroll deposition. Have you ever kissed a woman without her consent? Well, I can't think of any complaints, but no. I mean, I don't think so.
What?
Yeah.
That's not the answer to that question.
No, it is not. And by the way, I can't think of any
complaints?
First of all, I can't think of any complaints is a lie, because this is a complaint. And it's a lawsuit, you prick. And ultimately, there are a myriad of other cases. He's called them liars and that kind of stuff. But that would have fit. And women he knows he was in the present stuff. And never mind that Access Hollywood tape. This is a man who knows the world has heard the Access Hollywood tape. The thing that should have, if we didn't live in bizarro world version of this sim we all live in, knows the world has heard that and people were disgusted by it. Largely women who marched against him, like the Women's March right after on his inauguration was enormous, and it was largely the tipping point when he lost again. Well, I can't think of any complaints, but no, I mean, I don't think so. I think it's an inappropriate question, but I don't think so. I think it's an inappropriate question from the lawyer representing a woman who is suing him for defamation because he said she's not attractive enough to sexually assault. Like, I got news for you, dude. There in this kind of a trial, there kind of aren't any inappropriate questions. There are ones that might not be germane to the question at hand. Yeah. You know what I mean? If he asks you about your taxes, right? Or where you spend your Saturdays and the alleged offense happened on a Wednesday, those kind of things, your own lawyer will jump in.
We are at the top of the hour.
I know, I see that. We've got about 5 minutes.
That news will last 4 or 5 minutes, right?
Yep. And I'm going to, let's see if the
what happens if you unmute them?
The commercials aren't coming, so good.
Hey, HAL, I turned the commercials off. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Yes, we can. Yes. Absolutely. Woo! Thanks so much.
All
Yay.
Right. My name is Jewel, by the way.
Hi, Jewel.
What a great name.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to go live around 12:05:30. Okay?
Yep.
So we have a few minutes, and then, everything's fixed, so we should be good to go.
Nice. And I love
5:30 is like 5.5 hours from now.
Yes, no, that's military time. Thanks, Spinal Tap. 2 jacks and a Jill.
Time for that.
Yeah. All right. You were in 2 jacks and a Jill, weren't you?
2 jacks and a Jill.
Is it 4 jacks and a Jill? I forget what
I think it's 2 jacks and a Jill.
Yeah, right. It was a 3-piece. Anyways, this is more from Donald Trump's depot in the E. Jean Carroll case. This is, by the way, this isn't all of it. These pages that have been released. These are the redacted parts that he fought at one point. He said they were going to fight for them to be redacted, to be withheld. And then his lawyers didn't file anything else. The idea is in May, they fought for a date. Like, we will file something by this date that says why this should not be released. Tabby, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you, Hal. NARA has had no records of these classified docs being missing. I am waiting for reporting that begins classified docs were not intelligence records. They may be copies of daily work product. Yeah, that's exactly what it's going to be. Yep.
Oh, wow.
And the kind of examples you could use to teach a class. like not only classified. They weren't eyes only. They weren't top secret. They deal with, stuff that was in the news, conversations about a Washington Post article where the paper literally says, this is the article we were talking about. And it's an article from the Washington Post and it says classified on top of it because of the email address, right? Yeah. Which is no longer used. So anyways, here's this is a special kind of gross. Have you ever touched a woman on her breast or her buttocks or any other sexual part without her consent? Miss Haba, Elena Haba, objection to form. Well, I will tell you no, but you may have some people like your client that lie.
Wow.
Right.
Everyone here is under oath.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And by the way,
we have about 35 seconds.
Excellent. We'll be and we're waiting for Philip Bittner to join us. He'll be signing in. When he signs in, we'll have him come in. I think I got past most of that. We'll talk about this until he can pop on. He is in an undisclosed location right now, so internet may be an issue. So, but let everybody know. Everybody let him.
We have a few seconds. Stand by.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Okay. Very exciting. Here we go. Oh, look at that. What?
To the HAL SPARKS
I can't believe it.
Mega Worldwide.
It's a show.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not
Video streaming at HALSPARKS.com.
I don't care for you if it'll keep it like you're troweling out.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
Well, by golly, hello, Chicago. You're actually here. We finally made it. And right at the same time, by the way, Philip Bittner is joining us and getting settled in. And I will bring him in just a moment as I can, because I have to do a little bit of house cleaning on my end to get him in here. But I will say there has been several times over the last couple of years where we've had there is no bottom discussion about some folks. And real quick, as I'm setting up Philip to join us, if you have not had a chance, and I suppose trigger warning for all those that are concerned, to look at the newly released, formerly redacted parts of the E. Jean Carroll deposition by both her and him, I'm often unprepared for anything that Trump says to catch me off guard or gross me out or what at this point. Because, I mean, when you're considering just consider the idea of the Access Hollywood tape as your primary view of this human being.
Yeah, that's your sea level.
Yeah, right. And if that's not, I just don't know. At some point, you should get to a point where you're like kind of numb to it. But apparently, that is the kind of talk he uses. That's where he called it locker room talk. Remember that nonsense? At that point, he in this deposition, and I have no idea why, he seems to think that this is even more private than that. I'm trying to bring this up. I'm trying to get logging Phil in here for a second, and I'm trying to get it to pop up in here. It's not his fault. It's my fault on this side of things. I'm trying to bring his visual. Maybe it only happens when I transition him over. We'll see. We definitely hear him. I'm bringing his video up here in a second. Philip, thanks for joining us. Hi, and Philip is in an undisclosed location. By the way, if you're listening in Chicago on the radio, this is live. The first hour was Memorex, and we're getting it together. Yeah. And I will, let's see, I'm gonna fix this as we go so that people can see him, and we shall see what we shall see. But anyways, how you doing, brother? Is he there? Can he hear us?
Okay.
Yeah, okay, yeah, there you are.
It sounds more like nefarious. Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. Okay, excellent. And
I'm going to be spending some time with the Ukrainian military.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't want, and
we
I
cannot
don't
hear
generally
him.
have the policy. Okay. I don't like to talk about where I am. Oh, you can't hear me.
Chicago, can you hear Johnny?
Check 1, 2.
Yes.
Okay, you should be able to hear Philip. Can you speak, Phil? Give me a check.
Test, test, test. Hello, hello, hello.
I'm not hearing Phil.
Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's very strange.
Check 1, 2, 3, 4,
There
5.
is no reason. Are you off stereo, Chicago?
But you can hear me, Hal.
Yes, absolutely. Hold on. I can definitely hear you. We're all good. So continue talking, and we'll fill in for anybody who can't hear you what was said. But I'm just going to make sure everything is all good on our end.
Yeah. I'll just hold on. No, I can hold out. I can hold out.
Okay, cool. I'm just messing with his audio settings on it. There shouldn't be anything that's keeping them from hearing it. I think it might be split audio, but there's no particular reason why. Let's see. Turn that off. I'm fixing this. Hold on 1 second. Turning that off. And yeah.
Test 1, 2, 3. Test.
Yeah, they can hear Phil on YouTube.
Yeah, Phil's coming through loud and clear on my end, so that's very. Yeah. That's fascinating to me. This is a curious thing. I think I'm just going to chalk it up to Russian interference. That's what I think. That's what I think. So you are currently not in Lviv or Kiev or any of your previous Odessa.
No, I'm not. I'm not in the west. I'm in the east. I'm in the east. I'm in Donbass. I'm in a town close to the front lines.
Okay.
And the only reason I'm kind of keeping it secret is because I'm meeting up with the military this week, and as a courtesy and as a measure of security for their benefit, I don't disclose exactly where I am when I'm about to.
Sure, that makes sense. So you're not disclosing where you are currently.
I'm out in the east, not exactly. I'm in the Donbass. I'm in Donbass. I'm near to the front lines. And I drove through. I drove through places like Izium today, where there's the horrible massacre. I'm out east. I'm out where the front lines are.
Gotcha. Okay, and it's a little rumbly where we're hearing you from too as well. So you know what? Let me do something. If I can help Chicago out a little bit, can we take an early break real quick since we're having so much fun playing around, and then have Phil just log out and log back in, and that might help solve that issue because they might have been doing something at the exact same time, which is always fun. We'll do that. Chicago, hi. We'll be back right after this. It's the HAL Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. All right. It's weird too because for some reason his video isn't coming up on my end. There's something wonky. Maybe it's me. Hold on 1 second. Since we're in break, watch this. You want to see something scary? Oh yeah. Hold on. It's gonna be a party. And then there I go. 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 And this guy. And then there. And then turn the auto gain off. This is just one of those days. Let's see. Excellent. And you can hear him fine, right, Johnny Million?
Yeah, it's a little like you said. It was sort of dark, muffly, and big delay.
Yeah, that's just part of where he is, I think. But he's going to sign back in with us in a couple of seconds. Chicago, can you hear me?
Don't you start Chicago.
Oh, she's not trying right now. I don't see any signal at all. So, yeah, Jewel, can you hear me in Chicago? Just bringing it back on. This is just fun. This is I feel like I'm like it's an early Apollo mission. You know what I mean? We've gone.
Nope.
Yep, we've gone back in time. Fingers crossed. That might have been part of the issue. I refreshed their audio, and there we go. And I hear your cat. That's good.
Yep, she's up.
I'm doing everything I can except for reloading my page. Would you guys like to connect to Clean Feed? Oh, that was 28 minutes ago. I see. Oh, God. Yeah, that another can of worms. Good Lord. So, hi, everybody. Hi. This is what happens when we're just running it. Hi. I just want to say hi to the chat at this point. Hello. While we're trying to figure this part of it out. There you go. Whoops.
Hello.
Yeah, there you are. Hi.
Hey, okay.
You have to allow it up there. You have to enable it.
Okay, so
Woo,
we are in commercial.
Great.
I'm loud. Okay.
It's okay. It's okay. I got it.
I have a number Phil can call into, and we can put him on the air through our phone lines.
That might be the case, but can you hear him? Hold on. Check for him, Phil.
Test 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
I can hear him now.
Yeah, she can hear him now.
Okay,
there you go.
We're good.
Yep, that's what I thought. That's all it took. We're good. I'm going to raise your volume,
Yay,
Phil,
awesome.
and lower Chicago a little bit, and we should be good. But we're good. All right, look at that.
30 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Limiter.
Right.
Okay, cool. 30 seconds, we're coming back. Look at that. See? See, it didn't take me
There
an
you
hour.
go.
All right, anyways.
Perseverance.
Such a jerk, aren't I? All right, guest one. Let's put this in here. Close.
Let's see if we get power back.
Exactly.
Well, we're on.
All
We're
right,
supposed to get
stand
power
by.
back. We're supposed to get power back at 8.
Okay.
Standing by.
Attention, stop what you're doing. Because we're coming back to the HAL Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
They went a little crazy with it, and I appreciate it.
Now let's get back with HAL Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Well, other than getting the video up online for people who are watching on the live stream, all has been fixed. Yay! This is amazing. Look at that. And we're only an hour and a quarter into the show. So, yes, I'll get him up there. Don't worry, we'll have him on screen. Technically, he's in an undisclosed location, so I should put up like a picture of Anonymous or something anyways. So, Philip, first of all, right out of the gate, while everything is working, catch us up on where you are and what you're up to and how you ended up there and what your plans are that, within limits. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm in Donbass, which is in the far east of the country where the fighting is most intense. Mm-hmm. And I'm near the front lines. The only reason I would prefer not to say exactly where I am is just simply because I'm going to be linking up with the military, and as a courtesy to them, and to take into consideration their security concerns. Until I am finished with an embed, I tend not to disclose my location, just because if somebody was in the know or if somebody was monitoring where my phone is or any of that kind of stuff, or it could compromise things. So it's just better to be safe than sorry.
I agree.
It might be overly cautious. Overly cautious, but I would rather be overly cautious than be the source of a leak of information. That
be a Wagner merc. Right.
Yeah.
Barbecued Wagner.
So I have been on the road now. I was on the road. I drove from Kiev to here today. It took us about 10 hours. We drove through Izium, I will say that, where that famously that bridge was blown out and people had to kind of cross on a pontoon bridge. We crossed across that pontoon bridge.
Yeah.
We drove through a lot of where the fighting has been most intense, and you could see, devastated buildings and blown out houses and stuff like that. So, it's we're close to the front lines.
Mm-hmm. And what was the ride there like? What was the experience?
I've driven around the country. Yeah, I've driven around the country a lot. I mean, I was out in Kharkiv before, and it's a long drive. It's cold. The winter has come in, and the roads are very icy and risky, and there's no electricity, and the sun is setting at around 4:30 in the afternoon because of the latitude we're in. I guess would it be the latitude we're at or the longitude we're at? Anyhow, we are geographically located in a place where the sun sets in mid-afternoon. So we drove through a lot of dark with no electricity on very icy roads because of the winter conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And just that alone, I mean, you think about, I mean, of course, during a war, you think about all the man-made catastrophes. And in some essence, this is man-made as well. But, even aside from the shooting and the bombs and the violence of it all, because of the damage to the infrastructure in the country, and because just roads aren't being maintained very well, because people have more important things on their mind, understandably, it's dangerous even just to drive. I mean, we had some close calls. I'm traveling with a colleague and a friend, and we were white knuckling it for a while there because we were driving in pitch darkness on icy, sleety roads. With a lot of heavy. We saw a lot of heavy armor on the roads. I won't go into great detail about this either, but we saw there's a lot of troop movement going on the roads around here. And it's understandable because there's a lot of the front is active. Let's just say that. So with Solidar, now officially having fallen to the Russians, that changes the dynamics of where they move their troops. So we saw a lot of troops moving around the roads as we were driving in. So it's this is a far more active area when it comes to the actual fighting.
I guess the biggest news since the last time we talked is this weird insistence that Belarus might be dragged into this on Russia's part, discussing that element of it. How is that being taken in with any seriousness, or?
There's not a lot of concern about it, even if they do decide to do it. The Ukrainians are pretty. They've been setting up defensive lines out there just in case. They're taking it seriously, but they're not terribly afraid. They know that there's another thing involved. If Belarus did actually become involved directly in the war, is that Lukashenko, the president, the dictator for life of Belarus, is not well liked in his country and has had to put down a number of different uprisings.
Right.
And I think the Ukrainians recognize that even if Belarus does commit troops to this fight, Lukashenko's position isn't nearly as secured, and the Belarusian people are not nearly as supportive of Lukashenko as the Russians apparently are by hook or by crook, of Putin. So he's in a precarious situation, and if he decides to commit troops, he might have to be fighting an internal uprising as well as fighting the Ukrainians who are, battle tested and know how to dig in defensive lines, and they've been doing it for months.
What do you think? Yeah, and strategically, this is a situation where, like, if Poland joined in with Ukraine specifically, as far as soldiers and whatnot, in regard to Russia, it would be a wholly different thing that if they did something around Belarus, which I believe they share a tiny portion of the border with, or, not a lot of it. But it's more of a strategic concern for them, because even if you take the NATO idea that Russia, was worried about their border and that's why they had to fight, it's different for Poland and these other countries, than Russia attacking Ukraine. If Belarus joins in, that's a country that directly connects them, that has now attacked a sovereign country on behalf of Russia, which, by the way, Russia has said Poland's next, Berlin's next, right? Where do you think that changes their calculation at all?
The Poles?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think so, because Poland being a member state of NATO.
Yeah.
There's going to be a big problem between Warsaw and Mons, where NATO is headquartered. because the other NATO states will not take kindly to Poland poking the bear if they get into an active shooting war with Belarus or with Russia on Ukrainian territory. Then what does that mean for Article 5? There'll have to be a lot of discussions about it. I don't think the Poles would strike first. I doubt that would happen.
Right. But is there a chance that if Belarus is slapdash with what they're sending around? We had a Ukrainian missile land in Poland because they were fighting back against something that Russia had fired. The chances of that happening again because they're firing back against missiles coming from Belarus would be that's way closer.
Well, make no doubt about it. If Belarus joins in, a whole bunch of different factors come into play that will escalate things for sure. If the Belarusians get involved directly, it will be a major escalation, and it will be a further step down the road of expanding this war beyond just Ukraine.
Yeah,
and everybody should be concerned about that.
Right.
But having said that, look, the Ukrainians have been fighting this war for 9 years now. And they have been holding their own against the Russians. And if the Russians decide to attack a NATO member state and NATO gets directly drawn into this, everything, I'm not saying that NATO would handily beat Russia, because the gloves would come off. There would be medium range, continental ballistic missiles being fired. There would be the metrics would change significantly.
Right. And everybody's staying back mostly from that line, even within the context of all this stuff and the blather from Russia. Now, and I'm looking at a map, of course, and Poland's got a much bigger border with Belarus than I thought. I thought it was about half that size, just from memory. I guess the next one is, of course, is that this weird talk all of a sudden that Russia is now on a war footing. This is moved from a special operation to it's a real thing now because now we're really going to show them. And I got to say, we've heard this language before about 3 months ago when the first mobilization happened, and where they couldn't get enough guys worth fighting, worth training, worth, paying if they survive at all. In the first grouping, where do they think they're going to get the rest of these people?
Yeah, and also their munitions. They are. I know it's disputable how bad it is, but there is no doubt that their munition stockpile is significantly diminished. Otherwise, they would not be firing off things like ship-to-ship missiles against land targets.
Right.
They've clearly diminished significantly their stockpile of missiles. So where are they going to get those? Especially missiles that are highly more accurate. And that's not saying that the Russians would want to be more accurate to save lives or protect civilians. They want to be accurate because they want to hit what they want to hit, namely the power grid. Where are they going to get those high precision weapons if they can't get computer chips, except by through a black market kind of deal?
Right.
And also, as good as the Ukrainians have been, as impressive as the Ukrainians have been, they themselves will admit to you that they're not on par with NATO. NATO is much more powerful a military force, due in no small part, obviously, to the American military. But if the Russians can't beat the Ukrainians, I mean, how are they going to fare against a straight-up duel with NATO? I don't think the Kremlin wants that. For all the saber rattling, I think they're smart enough to realize that a direct confrontation with NATO ends very badly for them, no matter what.
Right, and I mean it's damaging to the entire world, and it's lunacy to start with. But even beyond that, that's if their stuff works, which is questionable at this point. And I think a question they're asking themselves after they've looked at their own stockpiles of regular munitions, much less nukes, because I at certain points. I wouldn't doubt that some of their nuclear material that they were planning on using ended up in Iranian nuclear facilities. that was sold off years ago. But that, there is a I'm reading something. I have it up on the screen on the live stream, and there's a director of one of the the Reagan Defense Forum, these people who do nothing but track munitions for a living all the time, and he said Rain said Russia has obtained some artillery ammunition from North Korea, and that the intelligence community is also tracking those exchanges, but added it's not been a lot at this stage. Now North Korea is denying that it's sending it at all, but the truth is they may not even know, because if graft happens under an authoritarian regime, because what choice do you have, that or starvation? What ultimately, what do you do? You take that chance, because it's the difference between buying your way out of the country, making sure your family is fed and lives well in a country with mass starvation. North Korea might be saying they're not getting anything from us and think it's true.
Yeah. And also, in addition to that, there's no way that the North Koreans are going to give the amount of munitions that Russia needs, especially not with the almost daily announcement out of the West of allocating weapons that are going to be sent to Ukraine. They're getting. I think it's a done deal, even if it hasn't been officially announced that they're going to get. They're going to get all sorts of armored stuff. They're going to get Challenger tanks, Leopard tanks.
Right.
They're going to get.
They're going to be ready for this next wave. We have to take a break. Yeah, let's take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the HAL Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Follow Philip Bittner on Twitter, 1L 2Ts. Johnny Million.
1L2T, so it's LTTPHIL.
Yeah, that's how you spell it. Yeah. Fittner.
So we got here late, right? We got here I say we got here late. We got here at 6:30, and everything was already closing down. So we went, and the one place we found open was this shawarma shop.
Everyone in the chat is saying that you really need to quit giving context clues about where you are, Phil.
Right.
Like we've all figured it out already.
Yeah.
No, they haven't.
We're right outside your door.
He's somewhere in the Bronx.
There you go.
That's my theory. So somewhere in the Bronx.
I get this chicken shawarma, and the meat is lovely, but it just reminded me how much people in this part of the world really love mayonnaise. It's all mayonnaise.
Right.
All mayonnaise.
Well, it's you could argue that Russia is the imperial capital of white trash. I mean, honestly, from a world perspective, global perspective, it is the Athens, Alabama of the world. It is the Pikeville, Kentucky of the world. No offense to my Boy Scout brethren from Pikeville, who I went to
30 seconds
camp with. Thank you.
I like a little bit of mayo, but my God, that thing is swimming in it.
Well, it's hey, it's all about available calories.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Yikes.
Uh-huh. Okay, we're coming back in a couple seconds. Yep. All right, we're coming back. I wait for it. It's always fun.
Stand by.
Okay, thank you. I'm standing by. We're good. I'm so excited to be.
I'm only on 1 day a week. I get it. I'm gonna have to jump on GarageBand and start sawing something together. This is the HAL Sparks Show. Wow. And a guitar note, and then progressive and all. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Hey, Hal, did you mean something like this?
This is the HAL Sparks Show. Wow. And a guitar note, and then progressive and all. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
HAL Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
So, one of the stories that I constantly follow, and there are some stories where you're not even sure which time it's happened. It's kind of like I don't know, drunk driving accidents within a mile of a mega preacher's house. You know, eventually you're like, is that new, or have there been a bunch, right? You know, and Russian fires, like just inside the country. At a certain point, I was like, I feel like am I over? Like, I felt like I was watching the same things over again, and I had to check the dates on these things to make sure that they were new. And, you know, 3 weeks ago, Russia's aircraft carrier, the one that they have, the Kuznetsov or whatever, and
the Kuznetsov.
The Kuznetsov, caught fire. I'm like, look, I get the malls and the parking lots and the gas facilities and the trains, but I even get to some degree the Moskva, even though it was obviously fired upon, them going, somebody was smoking near the bombs. But you have one aircraft carrier, one. They used to have two. They gave it to China. China turned it into a hotel. And then they copied. I'm not kidding. It was a casino. They've recommissioned it.
They're diesel powered. They're not nuclear. They're diesel powered.
Right. They're which means any sub anywhere can hear them 1,000 miles away. Yeah, you can track them by fish swimming away from them.
And they cannot stay at sea as long as our nuclear-powered ones can.
Nope.
They have to come in for refueling. They have to come in for refit.
Or they have to have a fueling ship really next to them. They have to have a fueling. Yeah, they literally have to bring tankers alongside them in this. This boat is 43,000 tons. It's 1,000 feet long. It has 1,300 crew members. Well, it now has, because of the fire, it now has 1,280 crew members. It used to have 1,300, and it's completely useless in the Black Sea and whatever. But it's one of their things that they like float around like a Macy's Day balloon, saying, "Look how tough we are," and it caught fire. And like I said, now part of the Belarus thing was because. Was it the defense minister of Ukraine who was like, Russia should prepare for strikes further and further inside the country? And at the same time, not taking credit for a lot of these things, not actually saying, I mean, they just had 3 weeks ago at the same time, and I don't think they're related, this aircraft carrier caught fire and burned down. 22 people died in a nursing home facility that just burst into flames. Just burned to ground. That's it. 22 people. Yep. Like there's an energy plant,
power plant somewhere out in Siberia, in really harsh Siberia, that went offline for days, and an entire city lost power. I'm with you, Hal. The more and more this stuff happens, the less and less I'm thinking it's simply sabotage.
Yeah.
It has been in my mind that much of this has been sabotage, and I still think that a good chunk of it has been.
Right.
But I think it's also because of the sanctions. It's because of the fact that they cannot keep their grid working. They can't keep their infrastructure working without getting supplies from externally from outside of Russia. And now that that's not happening, the gears of the infrastructure are starting to, they're not lubricated anymore, and they're starting to grind to a halt. And I think it's going to get worse. But I don't think it's as much sabotage as I originally thought when the war was.
Yeah.
I think it's going to fall apart.
Well, we talked on Wednesday when you came on the live stream about how Nokia and Ericsson, because the limit on the sanctions and how long they could stay in the country ended December 31st. And they just shut their laptops and left, or fired everybody and just stopped providing updates or anything. Beginning of the year, as anybody who went through Y2K knows, is one of the prime times of the year when you provide updates to software, because of any myriad of glitches that can happen because of calendar changes left over from Windows, or DOS, So, right? So, half of these could just be because nobody can call for help. They can't get a signal. There's a small fire turns into a big fire and burns everything to the ground because your phone doesn't work anymore. And you were counting on it, and now it doesn't because the sanctions have made it so that they can't. This is, and the reason I bring this up is because, yesterday, day before yesterday, it's hard to tell in the time scale of when the news comes out. This Russian warehouse in St. Petersburg, an enormous one, just burned to the ground. The whole thing, it says, turned to ashes overnight on a fire due to unknown causes. A total of 400 meters of the facility was reported to be destroyed by the fire. 400 meters squared, I'm guessing. Yeah, 400 square meters. The blaze follows accounts of another fire this morning that burned through the roof of a shop in the village of Krasnoyarsk in the region of Russia. The one-story warehouse was located on the Sverdlovsk embankment in the city. According to the Russian Emergency Situations Ministry, more than 70 firefighters and 18 pieces of equipment were involved in removing the fire, which didn't get removed. That's how. Let me explain how hilarious that paragraph is. Russia said it took 18 pieces of equipment and more than 70 firefighters to put the fire out. They didn't put it out. It burned to the ground. It was over because it ran out of fuel. The warehouse is just gone. They're like, they extinguished the blaze at 7:10 a.m. Curiously in time with when the warehouse totally ceased to exist.
Wow.
It's and this is a regular occurrence.
It's becoming obvious. It's becoming obvious. And I'm talking, and also, by the way, I know it's mostly anecdotal, but I talk to my friends in Russia, and I talk to my friends who have left Russia but are still in contact with their families back in the country. Everybody knows. Everybody can see it. They're desperately trying to ignore it in many instances. I mean, my God, that New Year's Eve extravaganza where it was like,
right,
everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine.
All of them wearing Tom Hinton blush, right? From Judicial Watch. They all had the guy from Judicial Watch's makeup artist. Yeah.
But it's obvious to everybody, I think. I think it's becoming more and more apparent. I think it's obvious. I think everybody's starting to realize it, that Russia's falling apart. It's really, for this time, the level, the scale of sanctions that are being put against Russia and the fact that they just cannot maintain their infrastructure, it's going to get really, really bad for Russia.
I will say that there is one good sign in Trump world, which might, explain, Trump's buoyant mood in the last little bit, is that Trump coin, which is his cryptocurrency, is currently worth a full penny more than the ruble. The ruble is worth. I
was just going to say, was it the ruble?
The ruble is worth a penny, and Trump coin is worth 2.6 pennies, and now obviously the exchange of the volume of it is much smaller because there are millions, if not trillions, of rubles, that run the gamut. There are only $176,000 worth of Trump coin in existence, and whoever bought them in the very beginning lost their shirt when they were worth 60 cents, and now they're worth $2. So, and are never going up again. But that said, the idea that the ruble. Oops, we lost Philip there. That might be a power thing. Hopefully he'll join us back in a second. Philip blinked out. Fingers crossed. But I will continue to talk. We got a couple more minutes before the break. We'll see if he comes back on. That always worries me when he's in an undisclosed location, when he just kind of blinks off.
He really wanted to tell us, too. It was so sweet.
Oh, quit it. So, the ruble is, there's the ruble against the dollar. For all the people who go that Biden is crashing the dollar and the ruble is surging. No.
That's
not at all. No, that's not good. That's when your dollar is worth 15 cents. By the way, I think Russia's at, let's see, we'll check their inflation rate while we're at it, which is fun. And more of a, also not necessarily, it's hard to track, honestly, from inside. Mm-hmm. but it is currently at 11.9%. It went up 0.25% in the first 9 days. So it keeps climbing. So they're at 11.9%. We in the United States, our inflation is, let's see, let's go check in on the U.S. inflation number. Let's see, inflation, consumer price gains continue to cool in this. The inflation rate, let's see, is 5.7% if you exclude food and energy. Of course, egg prices will affect that because of the swine flu cull. I'm sure everybody's tweeting, by the way, at Philip to make sure that he's okay. And going, are you okay? Are you back on? We'll check in with him in the break as well. 6.5% in December. And then look at it going down like that. You see that? See that, Johnny Million? A little spike. And the interestingly enough, it's like it certainly went up, whooping, and it's going down just as precipitously. It's almost as if these are not monetary issues, not about how much, because some people will notice that the COVID rebound and the insertion of the money into the system did not happen at the same time. The money came first, and then the COVID rebound dragged behind it, and then had another hitch in its get along. So at this point, it's in a good trajectory. That is a hard spike down, I have to say. Like, look at that. Look at that little turn right there in consumer inflation. This is, by the way, and this below it is the excluding number, but it's this height right now. That's deflationary. This is the kind of thing you see like in the early 80s when it was all the way up. Look at inflation at plus 14% in 1980.
What's the timeline on that one? Oh, these are years.
These are years. So, and by the way, look at the jagged fall of it, which is way wider than what we're seeing here. But the top of it doesn't look that different. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's HAL Sparks Radio Program, Mega Worldwide.
Come on back, Phil.
So, hold off on the happy ending music and just play a regular quick break. Come back in for us, if you could, Chicago, because I'm not sure if Philip will be here.
No worries.
Yeah. But yeah, I always love this graph. It's because it's super telling in terms of like what we've been through in terms of inflation. And again, also keep in mind that because of monetary policy, the dollar is worth technically less, but then you can buy more stuff with it. Technology is permanently deflationary anyways, but you can,
So I bought a microwave in like 1989 for $99. Right. And I can buy a microwave now for $99.
That's right. Yep. Right. Those kind of things. And it does more.
Yeah, it does more.
It's better. It's quiet. It's got timers.
Safer.
Yep. It's got better shielding.
Instead of just the knob.
Yeah, exactly. So technology will always be deflationary, and that's the thing that technology companies always push back against. It's the hard part. It's amazing that here we go.
Here we go.
Attention! Stop what you're doing. Because we're coming back to the HAL Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So smarmy.
They went a little crazy with it, and
so
I appreciate it.
Now let's get back with HAL Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back. So
I just asked Hal if I was smarmy, and he went,
no, what the way Devin talks on coming back on that break.
Oh yeah.
I appreciate it. I do. I really do. I feel like he didn't phone it in, and that matters. You know what I mean? Yeah. So for the record, Philip is still out. He dropped off online, and believe me, they have power issues, and he's near the front. So am I concerned? Always.
I'll tell you exactly where.
Yes. It's very concerning. It's just, but at the same time, I feel like he's in good hands and he's in a good space, so he should be all right. But it is, Yeah, he did have shawarma. That might have been it. You're right. If it was Johnny Million and he'd been eating shawarma, I'd be like, I know why he's not on. It was a digestive issue. Yeah, right. That was the entirety of it. So, Phil, we love you. And hop back on whenever you can, if you can. If not, send a signal flare via the Twitterverse and let us know that you're all right. And I'm checking my DMs right now to make sure that he's in. Oh, here he comes. He's back. He's coming back.
The chat. I think Jewel should know that the chat likes her voice. I feel like did we meet her when we were there last in person?
Yeah.
Because I seem to remember she was introducing herself this time, but I seem to remember commenting on her name.
I think so. Yes, absolutely. We will. He's kind of coming back. Come on, Phil. I see it. He's not popping back up, but there's all kinds of.
Put down the mayonnaise, Phil.
Yeah.
I can't hear the mayonnaise. We know you love it. He's got like one of those plastic spatulas of mayonnaise, so we can get it out of every nook and cranny of the jar.
Right. Yeah. That looks like a mortar trowel. Yeah. That's how I put my mayonnaise on things, like a Three Stooges sketch, or remember how you ever see? I always envied the sandwiches on the Little Rascals.
Right.
Oh my God! Like the bread is like an inch and a half thick, hand cut. They put it on there. They put everything in the fridge on it, and then whatever's in the jar is just this huge circular magic sweep, and then plop, slather. It's the only equivalent I've ever seen is the sandwich the guy makes in Heavy Metal, the cartoon.
Oh yeah, I think about that sandwich all the time.
Right, yeah, with the because he bites into it and it's just oozing out the sides because it's hilarious. But anyway, so we think we see a signal from Philip, but he's not back up yet. I got my eye on it.
Slippery. We can tell he's slippery.
He is very slippery. He may pop in and out. Anyway, so meanwhile, we will talk about a couple of other things until he gets back up there with us. Here's the problem the Republicans are running into, is that Biden's experience of the economy mirrors very closely Reagan's first 2 or 3 years in office. If you look at the spike in inflation and then what happened when Reagan came in and how it went down, and then there was a recession, which is the lower spike right here in it in the chart that I'm showing online, that people are like, we're in the money for a couple, the rest leading up to his reelection. And that's what is freaking out Republicans right now. Biden's approval rating is approaching 50%. And remember, Trump never got above 45. 45 never hit 45 approval. Never. And Biden, even at his worst, only dipped down, in the mid-Trump numbers, for a short time this summer, and then back up again. And they can't figure it out. And I got news for them. It's going to get worse. Mm-hmm. Republicans everywhere, somebody's got to tell you that the infrastructure projects and the construction around this country and the fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene is now touting the EV battery factory and the solar panel factory in her district is bad news. That is, by the way, almost wholly the reason why she supported McCarthy for Speaker versus, one of the more radicals or somebody that she doesn't, she couldn't, throw her lot in with and actually gain some ground with. Because she's going to need, at this point, we're going to have to just call it the Green New Deal and add an E. And it's that part of it, those moments, you can look forward to them this year. Those are going to happen. And it's going to be an awkward fight when she somehow, to save 1,000 jobs or 1,500 jobs in her district alone, is going to have to either stand down in her objection, which is the most she'll do probably, or co-sponsor a bill that will set the QAnon crowd's heads on fire. They already think she's drinking adrenochrome. I am not kidding. You notice she got some lip filler and went to the beauty parlor after the whole thing on the weekend after the vote. And then she showed up with her hair straightened on all the talk shows touting her new control point. They all think she...
What did adrenochrome do to her?
It apparently keeps you young. And apparently all these aging politicians... let me run this by you. This is my favorite part. This is my... Okay, so adrenochrome...
I need a few tips.
It, by the way, is simply adrenaline that is processed with oxygen, I believe, and nitrogen. You can buy it online. You can synthesize it. But apparently the good stuff can only come when it's milked out of the spines of terrorized children. Where that
at the moment?
Yes, they have to be frightened and
it's like Monsters Inc.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's where they got the idea from. I think they all fell asleep watching Monsters Inc. or their kid was watching it and they woke up with a stupid idea. But you can buy it.
Hang out till the end. It's laughter that's so much more powerful.
See, I agree. I saw it all the way to the end because I stay awake and watch the whole movie with my kid. Right. So they really believe this. That in and of itself is amazing. That somehow there's a chemical difference or a spirit difference or a belief in a spirit difference between adrenochrome you can actually have made in a lab, which anybody can synthesize, and something that you have to something from the dark crystal, you have to squeeze a kid while they're screaming to get it out of them, which is so bizarre and what a weird attachment to it. But they also think that Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton and a myriad other of group of celebrities and people.
Stewart, I bet.
Yes, they have stopped aging because they take adrenochrome and they've been doing it for 10 years. Now, I don't know if you've seen pictures of those three people that we just mentioned lately.
Boy, oh boy.
But in the last, yeah, exactly. I would check the label. Is this a? Oh my God, guys!
The adrenochrome fast aging.
Yeah, right. Adrenanope. What is that? Right. So,
Adrenanope.
So apparently, I'm drinking straight adrenaline. It's just literally giving me progeria. I'm aging at a fast rate. This is just caffeine and adrenaline. Holy smokes! Where'd you get this? Don Jr.'s desk. Right. So. All of the people that they think are planning to live forever by drinking adrenochrome, I'm sorry to tell you, bless their hearts, they kind of look like crap.
Yeah.
If you're talking about the anti-aging properties of something. Philip tried to pop up twice. He has not come back yet, so we probably are going to finish the show without him, but he's doing well. But those folks now think Marjorie Taylor Greene is on adrenochrome, and that was the price. The price of her, not the price of her voting with Joe Biden or joining the squad or something just really outlandish, far beyond the long horizon, but simply giving her vote to the guy who had the most votes for speakers so that they could control the House. That is the reason why they think she's now taking adrenochrome and has turned her back on Trump and is, even though, by the way, they think she's turned her back on Trump, even though Trump told everyone to vote for McCarthy. So some of them are turning on him as well, although none of them think he's taking adrenochrome because he looks like crap. So it's weird. It's a double standard. I don't understand it. If a Democrat looks like crap, they must be on adrenochrome trying not to age. If Trump looks like crap, it's just because he got the wrong color of orange. But anyways, it is that fight. I've said many times, and I will say it again. This is 2023 is the year of popcorn. There will not be enough popcorn for 2023.
Okay, there's a really good comment in the chat.
Okay.
Gunflub Build Couple says, I don't use adrenochrome. I use Adreno Firefox.
That's kind of awesome. Yeah. You know what you got to try is Adrenator. Get you into the dark web of anti-aging. Here's this fear point, this inflation number, and they're like, oh, thank you, Osborne, like Osborne, Osbjorn, I get it. Knudsen. And you do say the K. I learned that from the movie Cobra.
Because of the K and Cobra?
No, because her name is Knudsen in it, and his partner says, it's Knudsen, isn't it? Knudsen? And she goes, yeah, that's right. And he gives Stallone a look and goes, told you. Like, so there. Anyways, that's for you. And Johnny made that noise. I'm going to stick by that. So there you go. So the news stories over the next year, you will see Republicans, just like the gas stove nonsense that you saw. Republicans are going to be hanging their nails in anything that will keep them falling off the cliff. But they can't avoid it because this is the cliff. The financial situation in the world, while it may even dip into recession, will be and I see Philip trying to pop back in. It might be a post-show thing where watch as soon as the show's over, he's able to just come back in. Be hilarious. But he's trying. It's not. It's not. Man. Right. It's not for lack of trying. Yeah. So when eggs, like the price of eggs because of how it went up, is going to go down precipitously. When that happens, that talking point dies right there on the spot. And they'll have to move on to the next one and the next one and the next one. And what you're going to see is a treadmill of dying talking points from the Republicans all year long. And it will be glorious. It will be hilarious. And Trump's problems are not going to somehow arrest.
Fade away with talking points.
Nope. It's just getting worse. The Trump organization was fined $1.6 million, which is the maximum you can be sued in New York. For tax evasion or fraud specifically, not just evasion. And then they're going to lose their license. And then the civil case is for the money they should have paid. Oh, wait a minute. Last second, I see a circular look. Oh, Philip, what is he? There he is. I see his face on my screen. There he is. Sorry. Philip, I can see him. Can he hear me? We can hear him. I can hear him scratching around. Almost just to say goodbye. Just in enough time to say goodbye.
Put your beard close to the mic.
Yeah, he can't hear us yet, though, for some reason. It'll take a delay. It takes a moment for him to catch up. But in the meantime, I will say, Chicago, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Jewel, for, the uphill battle you had to wage in the first hour.
And thank you, Dylan, too.
Yeah, Dylan, you guys we'll never forget you. We'll build a monument in your honor. There'll be like this big, like you guys bearing the WCPT flag and a hilltop bronze statue out in front
of the station on our backs.
Yes, yeah, right. Yes, yes. Like an early 2000s nu metal song. I can't tell you. So thank you, thank you so much for making that happen. And we'll let you go because you got to go to commercials. Yeah, that's what right now we're gonna go. So thank you guys. Thanks Chicago. And then we're gonna say hi to Phil in the post show for a couple seconds if we can, just because we can after this. But bye everybody in Chicago.
Ooh,
yeah.
Osbjorn Knudsen came back.
Oh,
with another super
Osbjorn Knudsen. Thank you so much. Great pronunciation. How the K is not silent, but I'm still nuts. Yeah, Knudsen. Yeah, Knudsen. It's actually Newts. We wouldn't pronounce Osbjorn. We wouldn't pronounce it Newts over here. Although I might start now that I think about it. Newts I would like some Newts, please. I'm under the theory and. Oh, and by the way, it might be, I'm
allergic to tree newts.
Are you? I'm going to try, give me 1 second, and I'm going to try and see if...
Berkeley Dow just posted D's newts.
D's newts. You are so easy to amuse, my friend.
I don't know why D's nuts always makes me laugh.
Why wouldn't it? Because there's no reason not. There is no reason not. Phil, by the way, we can see you, we can hear you, but we can't get you up on screen for some reason. I think it might be a thing, but we definitely see him, so I know he's there. Can you say hi?
Yay!
Yay! Okay, cool. Excellent. So it's all right. Hi, how are you? What happened? Did it just a graphic stuff? Yeah. Just a internet issue there. Mm-hmm.
I just dropped out.
Yeah, that happens. You know what I mean? Slacker.
Yeah. I can't.
I think it was an internet.
And you can't hear him now?
No.
That's so weird because everybody should be able to hear everybody on that thing. That's the whole purpose of the reason I use this site. Hilarious.
We are all in a.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. He's dropping like audio out and a little freezing. Okay, we will reconnect when he's in a place with better info or a better internet, and we have like he can actually say where he is. I have to say that, and he's frozen right now. I don't know if you can hear me, but oh, there he went. Maybe he's coming back. Oh, there he is. There you go.
Also, Hal, if you can.
I don't believe you because I can't see him or hear him. I think that you just have a ghost.
And nope, and he just went away. He just dropped out entirely. I'm messing. Sure. This is just me messing with
girlfriend.
This is me messing with him. By the way, Matt Taibbi.
School, you wouldn't know her.
Matt Taibbi is getting very upset at being called out on his bullshit. Which is hilarious.
Poor Matt Taibbi. No.
Yeah, poor Matt Taibbi. We'll see if he can. I doubt he can come back up. So I'm gonna let him off the hook, and we know he's safe. We know he's there. We know he's okay. That's the important part. And chat room, thank you guys for
blaming Mayo. So
that's what it is. He spilled. He was like, and the mayo went straight onto the computer, like, which is interesting because if it's water, you put it in rice. And if it's mayo, you have to just sop it with white bread and pour Mountain Dew on it.
Yeah.
Which is sort of counterintuitive.
Yeah, but Mountain Dew is key.
It is. It's the great sign. Yeah, have I signed off? Yes, we've signed off on Chicago, but we're post-show live.
The chat's saying they can barely hear me, and that's probably for the best.
No. I at one point I had to turn down, like the audio was. You know how we got to the end. This is the end of Clean Feed at one point where we're like, all right, that's not going to do it. So we're not going to. That's not enough anymore. I think I'm switching over to another system going forward. Even though the video quality when it works is fantastic, it's the slapdash nature of whether it works and and how much computer power it seems to need to handle more than it's supposedly you're allowed to have like 9 guests on this thing. I call bullshit.
No way.
Because once we get to 3, it really starts to flip out. But there is another way, and I'm going to at some point have to do a test with you maybe this week if you like testing.
With me?
Yes, with you.
I'll bring my mayonnaise.
All right, yes, bring some mayonnaise and just you'll have to pour it on your computer before we start. That's not technologically that's not important. It's just a ritual that I like to go through because during it the smell of warming mayonnaise it really is what puts you in the mood, if you know what I mean. I think this mayonnaise talk
about Miracle Whip. I actually do like Miracle Whip.
I find it a little stingy.
Sure, I think that's what I like about it.
But that's what I like about green Otter Pops, like freezer pops.
Yeah, those were stingy, weren't they?
They're very stingy. Yeah, they sting your throat. I'm like, this can't be good, but it's so good.
Wow, I forgot about that.
You know what I'm talking about? You guys know what I'm talking about.
Just the flavor green in general is spicy.
It's how gay men fake orgasm. Get out of here.
With mayo?
Yeah. No, Miracle Whip.
Where's your chat coming from? Mine looks really different.
Yeah, right.
Is there's Twitch chat? They're dirty over there.
Yeah. It's everybody. It's the entire chat. Yeah. By the way, I'm also going to partner you in this so you'll be able to log in and watch the entire what you're seeing on screen right now. Yeah. All of it, all at once.
Oh, my word.
The everything all at once thing, which, by the way, congratulations, Michelle Yeoh. And it's lovely. You know what I think? I honestly think Michelle Yeoh, I think people misunderstood her Golden Globes speech this week because she came over. She's like, when I first came over here, they're like, wow, you speak English. And they said, you're a minority. And she was like, I am not a minority. And everybody was like, good for you. That's so great. And technically here she is. What she meant was There are more Chinese people than there are any of the other kind of people in the United States, but for Indians. So, you know what I mean? She's like, I'm not a minority. I have 1 billion relatives. And I'm like, and everybody was like, good way to stand up for yourself, girl. And like, I think she was just having like a Han supremacist moment for a second, really, actually. Han supremacist. Yeah. But that's adorable. You guys think that, like, where are they all a minority in the world? She's not a minority in the world, like, at all.
I did enjoy that movie, though.
Yes, I mean, she's great. I've loved Michelle Yeoh for a long time. Like, she's in Super Cop. She's amazing. It's you know.
And what's the name of the guy who was in Indiana Jones?
The name of the guy, Harrison Ford.
The kid from
River Phoenix.
No. The second one.
Yes. Short Round.
Yeah,
the kid who was in he produced it, I think. Yeah.
He produced that movie?
Yeah. Ke Kwan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was also in Goonies. He like his other producing partner, I think, was from Goonies. It's the other. It's like the guys who did. You know, they've kind of found their way finally into like being a producing pair after all this time. She was amazing in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. If you want to see Michelle Yeoh, I think at her finest, I recommend Wing Chun and Tai Chi Master. These are Jet Li movies. Like Wing Chun is a Michelle Yeoh movie, and he's in it. And Tai Chi Master is a Jet Li movie, and she's in it. But they basically share time, and she's fantastic. And there's amazing fight scenes, and she's terrific and stuff. And I adore her, but at 60 years old, she can't beat up the band. That was cute. No, please. Come on. Yeah, she was great in Tomorrow Never Dies. That was my least favorite Bond film of the Brosnan era. I mean, I just love The World Is Not Enough so much. Yeah, I do. I like him. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, good. Suze knows those movies. Yeah. So Tai Chi Master and Wing Chun, I highly recommend them if you want to see, you know, her peak. And her work with, like, can I just for a moment tout the beauty and like artistry of Maggie Cheung. A lot of people in the States only know Maggie Cheung as like the occasional Jackie Chan girlfriend in some movies, or from In the Mood for Love. And she's amazing in that. But she's just a fantastic actress across the board. Like, I've never seen her in anything that wasn't just like, oh yeah, that's the person. Yeah, it's like she's just creating a character, and she's comfortable in everything that she's in. There's some actors that are only comfortable in certain things, and you can tell. Sure. Even great actors. As a matter of fact, sometimes the better an actor is, the worse they are at shit that they shouldn't be doing. Like this is the wrong thing, and they don't know how to fit it. They don't know how to make it real because it's so outlandish.
Trying to think of who has an issue with that.
Well,
John Malkovich can fumble sometimes if he's in the wrong piece.
Yeah, he can get mad at the script.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he works around it. He can get angry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like what I'm being made to say. You fucking moron. Yeah, that whole thing. Like, just articulate anything. Oh, what about Tybee? This is, hold on. Everybody's calling him out for the Twitter files. And Ted Lieu wrote something. What Matt Taibbi leaves out is that the article he cites explains DOJ dropped the two cases because discovery would give the Russians information they could weaponize. Matt Taibbi now wants you to doubt the DOJ's case against the 12 Russian agents. He's spewing Kremlin talking points. Congressman, I'm an American citizen. I love my country. And accusing me of repeating Kremlin talking points when I report something you find inconvenient is beyond reprehensible. You and your sleazy red-baiting pals in Congress should be ashamed. Okay, first of all, red baiting has nothing to do with Russia. It has to do with communism, fuckhead. Like this is not about the USSR and freedom versus communism. Russia is a kleptocracy now. Has fuck all to do with even our differences
anymore.
Nothing. So anybody who throws out the red baiting part of it, which again, the circle he runs into, it happens a lot. The Scott Ritter, Aaron Mate, Rusty Trombone, Jimmy Dore, they use the red baiting thing as if it's still relevant. And Frank Gaffney did it, as well in a recent thing. I saw him on a Dinesh D'Souza clip I went back and looked at some of his stuff, and they use that term red baiting all the time. And first of all, that's to make basically like this is the new McCarthyism. Like, no, it isn't. McCarthy was worried about infiltration of communist political ideals into the American system to undermine it from within. That has nothing to do with it. The Russians are not trying to infuse their political beliefs into ours. Russia's just trying to wreck every democracy on the planet so theirs doesn't look so bad, so their people don't cut their heads off. This is totally different. This is not somebody saying, I am a true believer about my system and you just can't take the competition. That's arguably, whether it was true or not, the position during the USSR.
Right.
That was the movie like White Knights. Look at those movies. That's what the fight was about. Is communism a better way to go, and socialism versus capitalism and democracy? And that was the fight. And you had true believers on either side willing to fight to the death about it, right? That has nothing to do with the current state of Russia. That's like saying you and your mafia talking points about me and my Italian friends. That's the closest you could come to what he's saying here, is that you're accusing me of being in the mafia just because I'm saying what the mafia says about the cops, right? Or the district attorney or whatever, or Rudy Giuliani or whatever. So the other thing too is that if you'll notice, you're accusing me of repeating Kremlin talking points, and then this, because you find it inconvenient, and calls it red baiting. The amount of name calling in this particular one does not address anything in Ted Lieu's comment. He freaks out about the last sentence. He goes, this is the part. Drop the two cases because the discovery would give the Russians information they could weaponize. That's the detail. That's the part that Matt Taibbi, and by the way, he addressed Ted Lieu first, and then says, "You guys are attacking me." This is their back and forth. What Ted Lieu's DOJ indicted 12 individuals they knew could never show up in court, but had to drop two of companies that did fight back rather than go through discovery. Because the discovery process, because it would be in our system, not theirs, would be way open, which is totally stupid. And the idea that you just drop those cases because, by the way, half those fuckers fell out a window a year and a half ago. Okay. Right after a year and a half after the charges came out, those people have fucking died.
What a coincidence.
Yeah, and then a consistent theme of the Twitter files has been concrete evidence that Russiagate headlines are manufactured by politicians and media. The thread below blows up the absurd, release the memo, panic, stoked by sentiment. This is from the last batch, and I went through all this shit as well. And one of the things that I pointed out was, I think this is in all of them. Yeah, here goes thread. The one fake Taylor. Okay, is this the 11? This is 14. Hold on, whichever the last one was. The release them. Yeah, I think this. Yeah, it was 14. Way down here at the bottom. Here they are, right? These are all. And by the way, all these are like opinions of people at Twitter. Like how they characterize things becomes fact. That was the whole story. What they describe it as somehow becomes gospel in this weird way because somebody wrote it in a Twitter Slack between each other while they were like, I don't think these are bots. It fucking totally turned out there were. Twitter recognized this after the fact, but at the time they were like, I think these are real accounts. And by the way, remember when Elon Musk last year, when he was trying to get out of buying Twitter, was like, the whole thing is bots. I don't want to buy that. Half the accounts are fake. Now we're supposed to believe that they were, that they weren't bots back then, or that Twitter had a good handle on what were bots and what weren't. The double speak is just fucking ridiculous. That said, way down, he even cites a kid's story because this is a great example. With members of Congress, children's book reference. Somebody calls it, if you give a mouse a cookie, about giving information, kitty. And then he literally tweets a picture of the cover and 2 pictures from the thing. And like, if you give a mouse a cookie, he'll want another cookie. Like, the fuck? Like, he has to explain the reference for a whole tweet. And that's part of the Twitter files. Part of the Twitter files are him writing out and getting pictures to support this. If you don't know what that is, it's this. And it's, again, an opinion from the one right before.
And
Who gives a fuck?
Cookie, I want another cookie, too.
That's true. That is, if you give Johnny a cookie is my children's book that never got off the ground. Yeah. That said... Let's see. Show replies. He's still got one more. Way down at the bottom. And this is my favorite part. He always does this shit. Where'd it go? All the way down to the last one. Twitter, here it is. Twitter had no editorial input in this story. Searches were carried out by third parties, so the documents could be limited. First of all, who were the third parties? Also, who the fuck works at Twitter at this point? And does he consider Elon Musk Twitter? Does he mean that there was nobody at Twitter legal? Well, guess what? Elon Musk fired their legal counsel a couple of weeks ago. But ultimately, searches were carried out by third parties, so documents could be limited. That's what it is. I may be only getting part of the picture because other people gave me this stuff. Well, who? I'll tell you who. People, and this is for their plausible deniability. People Elon Musk hired outside the company who work for Tesla or fucking don't have anything to do with SpaceX, who are going through Twitter Slack shit as getting paid by the hour to go through this shit and then hand off anything that they think sounds hinky to Matt and all these other assholes. So Matt is not going through these things himself. Matt is not going through these files. No, it's all right. She can say whatever she wants. We're not on the radio now, so we love the sound of cats in the background. It's wonderful.
This cat.
Yeah, it's hey, she knows what she wants and she knows how to get it.
Yeah, she does. It's working.
By the way, the staffs of Feinstein, Schiff, and Blumenthal declined to comment. So did NBC, Politico, APT, because they're not even, who gives a shit? But that's why. He doesn't understand that they don't give a shit, that this is like a nothing burger, and everybody who reads knows this because here's the thing about reporters. Good ones, and most of the ones you see as mainstream people, except for the occasional times when they take the bait, read all the way to the end before they start hammering a talking point and putting their name out on their entire career out on the line for it. And so they read all the way down, or in some cases in the early ones, it was like the fourth one in. He would put this whole thing. This may not be the whole thing, or both sides did it, but I only looked at this side, and they're like, oh, well, then fuck this. Every conclusion is fucking garbage. What are we talking about? Like, it's so fucking boring. It's like, and it's tiresome. And then, like I said, half of this is him showing like article heads on stuff from during the Trump years about a myriad of different stories without the, with no exclusionary titles and that kind of shit. And then even these, here you go, like a staffer for Dianne Feinstein agreed it would be helpful to know how Hamilton 68 goes by the process by which they decide an account is Russian, but only after Feinstein published her letter about Russian influence. This is them taking this particular user stuff as being who was like outing people, like what is their standard? But the reason they know and the reason they put it out and why they didn't have to go to the Twitter files to find out, or talk to Twitter about why the Twitter files, why they didn't have to check, with that person is because they were getting intelligence briefings. And they were seeing the actual intel, not just what the FBI or the CIA or the DIA or any of those people were telling them, not just that part. They were seeing the corresponding evidentiary files that they can't share with the world. So because you're not allowed to share it, like there is nothing at this point, stopping Taibbi or any of the people from just showing whatever they see and excluding whatever they don't want you to see. That's fine. But anybody in the intel community is literally limited in what they can say about anything. And so that dead zone, you could fill it with the conspiracy of the gaps. They could play on the atheists' idea of the God of the gaps. Anything we can't explain with science, we fill in with God. This is the Illuminati of the gaps, the deep state of the gaps. That's what it is. Anything they can't explain or they don't know the information on because it's a need to know basis or it's for the safety and security of stuff. Instead of going, yeah, that's something you wouldn't know, and speaking honestly about it because you wouldn't share that even if you did. So we can't really draw conclusions, or we have to find out through another source in the actual country, which is why internationally linked news organizations have value, because they can have reporters and
that's why we need them.
Sources. Yeah, that's why you have sources in other countries. Anyways, I'm gonna let you go because you have a cat to take care of, and yeah. And I adore you, and good luck with your DJ career.
Thank you, DJ JD.
Yeah, DJ JD. What's up? Yo. Meow. It's just you just made an LP, a vinyl of all of Flora's meows, and then you just scratch it. I think it would work. I have to tell you, in this day and age, if you just took a bunch of cat videos and did like soundtracks, and that's all you did, you could probably buy yourself a house. I'm just saying. Probably. So anyways, love you, brother. I'll let you go because I could talk all day on this stuff because it makes me mad.
My mother-in-law says you just go and go and go.
And that sentence out of context.
Sure.
Could get me in trouble. I'm just saying. Okay. But she's not the first woman who said it. Anyways, we'll hey yo. Anyways, love you, brother. I'll let you go. See you later. Everybody say bye to Johnny. Say bye to Johnny.
Love you guys.
Bye. Hi. So, yeah, guys. Hi. How are you? Good to see you. Wow, what a fascinating technological adventure that was this morning. But that's the first time Chicago's really had the issue. And it is abundantly clear I'm going to have to find another way to get 3 guests in and out of the show at any given time. It was supposed to be so easy. It was supposed to be so easy. Somebody's saying Taibbi has a bank full of rubles. I disagree. And I'll tell you why. Remember the Scott Ritter thing that we showed? Hold on. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, here you go. This is, hold on. I don't think I can even see this. Yep. Hold on. Yeah, here you go. Reuters, ex-UN official Ritter convicted in underage internet sexting. Scott Ritter was found guilty in an internet underage sexting. He exposed his genitals to a police officer that he believed to be a 15-year-old child. Now, in that case, he let's see, Scott Ritter. GRU. Here you go. And by the way, that is not a situation where, somebody, he woke up and there's somebody in the bed next to him and he's like, what the fuck? yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. Bounty gate scapegoat in the military. Yeah, here you go. This is, here you go. Former UN weapons inspector imprisoned for contact with a minor. Parole, he was in jail for 2 years and got paroled. And we all know about recidivism in sex with underage children, with children in general, or attempting to do that. Scott Ritter, the former United Nations weapon inspector who was arrested and imprisoned for unlawful contact with a minor, has returned to Bethlehem. Ritter was paroled from state prison in Pennsylvania in September. A call to his home wasn't returned on Thursday. Vocal critic of the 2003 invasion of Iraq, Ritter has resumed his trenchant writing on U.S. policy in the Middle East. He's authored at least 3 online articles for Huffington Post since October. That's right, Huffington Post hired a man who exposed himself to a minor, or someone he thought was a minor in a police sting, after. Yeah. Including one warning of the creation of U.S.-backed Free Syrian Army, represents a figment of American creative thinking. If it was an intelligence officer in the Marine Corps and then a weapons inspector for the UN. Upon leaving the UN, he criticized the organization for not enforcing disarmament in Iraq after the 1991 Gulf War. But as the UN was preparing to take a 2003, gained prominence for his contention that the country had no real weapons of mass destruction. Later the same year, Ritter made headlines with news surfaced that he had been caught in a police sting in 2001. Police said he had tried to lure a 16-year-old girl, actually a colony undercover officer, posing online, to a Burger King in Menands. Yeah. That case was later adjourned in contemplation of dismissal, essentially dropped, and the record was sealed. At the time, Ritter suggested that the case was a smear campaign designed to silence him. Less than a decade after that arrest, Ritter found himself in similar legal trouble. He was convicted in 2011 in Monroe County, PA, after Barrett Township Police presented evidence that in 2009 he had masturbated in front of a webcam being viewed by an undercover officer who was posing as a 15-year-old girl. Ritter reportedly went by the handle Delmarm for fun. Though the case dragged on, a New York Appellate Division Court at one point ruled that some of the evidence was inadmissible. Ritter was convicted on 6 counts, including felony unlawful contact with a minor. Sentenced up to 5.5 years, he was sent to Laurel Highlands State Prison in Somerset, PA. Records show that the Pennsylvania Parole Board in June concluded Ritter had demonstrated positive behavior. He hadn't masturbated in front of any minors because it was a prison for adults, and had a motivation for success, and had completed the programs needed for release. Ew. Under the terms of his parole, Ritter can't possess weapons, must refrain from alcohol, and has agreed to drug testing and outpatient sex offender treatment. He can't have contact with anyone younger than 18 without approval from parole officers. There you go. Yeah. So that's Scott Ritter. And he was arrested twice for illegal contact with a minor. The first one got dropped, so somebody either ran interference, or it was one of those situations where he just was lucky and dodged it. Second time he was busted, which paints a picture of the version that what happened before was legit. And I presume he does have to register. But then here's what I think. Yeah, here's his Wikipedia. We'll see if they, I think this is in here. Weapons inspector, opinion, Ritter, Operation Desert commentary, arrest and conviction for sex offenses. Let's see, military background, early personal life. It was 1998 was his last weapons inspection, and then 2 years later he's busted for soliciting a minor. Operation Desert Fox. Does he come there and post this? I'm trying to find the part where, because he says he was stationed in Russia at one point. I'll have to look it up specifically because we'll just be hunting around with. But the idea is that he was, let's see. Let's see. Page interview, long lexicon for disaster, post op-ed. Yeah, here he's writing op-eds for art. Oh, well, I mean, here you go. I mean, this. Here you go. Scott Ritter is a former U.S. Marine Corps intelligence officer and author of Disarmament in the Time of Perestroika, Arms Control and the End of the Soviet Union. He served in the Soviet Union as an inspector implementing the INF Treaty. That's what it was. So he served there during that time and served in General Schwarzkopf's staff during the Gulf War. From 91 to 98, served as a chief weapons inspector with the UN in Iraq. Mr. Ritter currently writes on issues pertaining to international security, military affairs, Russia, and the Middle East, as well as the arms control and non-proliferation. And for the record, they make no note of his 2 arrests and his conviction for a solicitation of a minor and masturbating in front of a person he thought was 15 years old. So that's Scott Ritter. He's, he's one of the regulars in the tanky crowd that's for this. And by the way, he may have ended up with his UN position, no pun intended, because Russia signed off on him as one of the people. Like, we're okay with that guy. But in his time serving as an inspector, what do you do when you're not inspecting? When you live in Russia and you're working, how do you pass the time? How would you pass the time? Touring the country, trying new foods, going to nearby countries because you have the diplomatic ability to come and go, seeing Europe, blah, blah, blah. Not, that's what you would do. What Scott Ritter's history tells us, because he is apparently an unrepentant pedophile, would be that he did a bunch of that shit over there, and it explains. Agnes, I have no idea. That's up to John. He hasn't said either way, so that's up to him. People need their time sometimes, but Ritter himself, it makes total sense that they have compromise of him when he was over there. It explains everything. If you go, okay, after he left Russia, they just had it on tape. And from that point forward, your job is to shit on the United States and any moves they might be making, towards other people and towards other countries that we have any moves that the United States is doing even positively in areas where we want Russian hegemony. Yes. And that brings me, thanks, Richard, for bringing it up. So, Matt Taibbi, moved to Russia in 1992. Lived and worked in Russia and the former USSR for more than 6 years. He joined this guy, Mark Ames, in 97. He lived there, by the way, for 5 years before he and Ames started The Exile, which is where most of the stories come out about them being douchebags and rapey and gross and physically forcing themselves on women in the office at The Exile. He was there for a full fucking 5 years before that. 5 years. In that period, by the way, in the Wild West time of Russia. So somehow, yeah, this is I think I've shown you this before, but interestingly enough, the Reader did a great article on this. Ugh. He's got a new book called that he wrote called I Can't Breathe and blah, blah, about Eric Garner and stuff. And he's basically, what he does is he picks up on what would be left-leaning social causes, and the end result is at the end of it, America bad, not cultural elements or elements that America's working toward bad. Just the whole fucking thing is a rotting pile of garbage. It's unsalvageable and shitty. Which is how you bait people who care. That's how you weaponize other people's empathy. People who care about, Garner or Floyd or any of those kind of things. You take their real feelings, and then you drag them to your conclusion. Yeah. So they bragged about forcing the Russian staff there to have anal sex with them and blah blah, just gross. He's gross. and always has been. So, and they were both over there being douchebags. Here you go. This is what kind of guy has friends or partners like this? By the way, this is around the same time that Cenk is starting TYT with the whole like guess the camel toe shit that he had on his show. There was this weird shock jock douchebag ideology around these kind of outsider faux left dudes. It was odd. Wearing down your opponent is a formula for success in Russia. Take Peter the Great against Charles II. They simply wore down their opponents. At 5:30 the next morning, Katya, acting like the martyr, quietly slipped out of my apartment, made a beeline to the abortion clinic, and sucked the little fucker out. She called me periodically after that. I couldn't get her off my case, so I wrote a column mentioning her name and what she did to me, naming her the worst woman of the year. I didn't mince words. I was wired on weeks of accumulated phenamine, which I wrote that column about how I coerced her into having an abortion under threat of death. All that speed makes you throw caution to the wind, and you can move mountains when you're railing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he like, and the idea that like, you know, I hung out with a dude like that all the time, worked with him for years, but I'm not like that at all. And P.S. that Mark, his partner, that's a section of that guy's book, or, you know, that guy's attitude from the book. And there's a bunch of other stuff about what he and Matt would do to the women. Okay. You know I'm not PC, but there's like a million years thought of harassing her. There's a limit. You go too far. You're always trying to force Masha and Sveta under the table to give you blowjobs. It's not funny. They don't think it's funny, Kara complained. But it is funny, Matt said. So, by the way, that's this part right here. Yeah, we've been pretty rough on, this is a quote from the book. We've been pretty rough on our girls. We'd ask our Russian staff to flash their asses or breasts for us. We'd tell them that if they wanted to keep their jobs, they'd have to perform unprotected anal sex with us. Nearly every day we asked our female staff if they approved of anal sex. That was a fixation of ours. Yeah. It was all part of the fun. Fun that Kara was no part of. There's no truth to those stories. We wrote about our experiences and then published with a note explicitly stating they were nonfiction. Right. He tried to back out of it after a while because he lost his value as a propagandist for the Kremlin. So he had to walk a bunch of that shit back. Basically, when you're in Russia, or you're in a situation like that, you spend a lot of time convincing them you're on the team. And then when you got to move to to your target country, in this case, the States, in Greenwald's case, Brazil, then you've got to walk back some of your shit and go, I didn't really mean that. And then again, what the trick is, and we've seen Cenk do this for years. We look at the whole Democrats are bastards shit that he went on ranting about right before the election. Fascinating. But what they do is they spend all this time being, douchebags, and then they're like, I didn't really mean it. And then they weaponize your empathy. They talk about something you care about. They say a few right things about the thing you care about. And then they draw you to a conclusion that they have set up. Traps and cons only work if the person appears to be on your side. When people tell me that I like what he says some of the times, or I like these people, they say some of the times, but they always go to this one thing that bugs me. That's not an accident. And Taibbi and Cenk in many ways are cut from the same cloth. Where's that? Let's see. This is and now I can. It's funny when I can play audio now for you guys. Whoops. I wrote kank. Let's see. I'm trying to. Oh, yeah. This is an older one. It would take me a while to find it, but there was this whole thing they had about whether or not let's see, stay at home dads. It's an old one. Basically, they get into this kind of like shock jock fucking conversation about. I'll have to look it up because it's not going to be named that. It's so fucking old. But they jank. They go through this thing about how he's saying, "Would you like a guy who you pay for the bills and he stays at home?" Washing dishes and whatever, because he's basically going to smoke pot and play video games all day, as if that's what women do in between taking care of kids and doing whatever housework they do if they decide to be a stay-at-home mom. Somehow there's this weird difference in their description of it. And he's like, you'd never let that. This lazy fuck. The idea is that stay-at-home dads are fucking weak and that it's, and that women will never stand for a dude who's not the breadwinner. They can't take it, and yada yada. And it's like now if you played that, they go, I don't know, that was a long time ago. But it's how they built what they built. Again, this kind of goes in line with that weird, that kind of Marxist thing. Like, I know I brought it up a couple times lately, but it's very fucking weird that you can't have socialism until capitalism industrializes the country, and then you can have it on top of it. Which again is like saying you can't be a vegan until you've already grown up. Veganism works, but only if you grow up eating as much meat as you can possibly get and building yourself up, and then you can turn vegan, and that's proof that veganism works. It's one of the dumber things in the writings of Marx. It's that and him using the N-word a lot are the two biggest embarrassing things where people were like citing those things, right? And the idea is that Cenk used to be a Republican and then he turned, like Ariana Huffington used to be conservative, and then she started the HuffPost after her husband turned out to be gay and was lying to her, and then she hated all the Republicans she was surrounded by, so she decided to go left in that. And then she's letting Scott Ritter post conviction for pedophilia write articles about the war at HuffPost. You couldn't find anybody else who would write a war like a story about the Iraq. I fucking could have done it at the time, writing a story about whether or not there's or not believing that there's weapons of mass destruction. So that, I mean, honestly, when you start looking into sort of the idea of compromat being used to make people toe a line, and then the number of examples of people spouting the same fucking talking points from 5 different faucets. Citation on Marx using racial slurs? Sure. Hold on one second. Let's see. Yeah, and sorry. Let me find the exact quote. Yeah. So Marx and Engels wrote. And this is, again, the Marxism idea of it. But Marx and Engels wrote Das Kapital together. And Engels claimed that Paul Lafarge, who was Marx's son-in-law, who was running for a city council seat in Paris's district that contained a zoo, Engels claimed that Paul had 1/8 or 1/12 N-word blood. And then in his letter, Engels wrote, and this is early in it, but this is what Engels said. And then, being in his quality as an N-word a degree nearer to the rest of the animal kingdom than the rest of us, he's undoubtedly the most appropriate representative of that district. It was basically a zoo joke. Let's see. Marx said that the religion of the Jews was huckstering and that the Jews' God was money. Let's see. Views Jews that they could only become an emancipated ethnicity or culture when they no longer exist. Just one step short of calling for genocide. Marx said the classes and the races too weak to master the new conditions of life must give way. Here it goes. The Negro, and he calls them, he mixes the kafir as a word in there as well. The Negro is indolent and lazy and spends his money on frivolities, whereas the European is forward-looking, organized, and intelligent. Let's see, it would lead to a the Soviets espouse the name of the Jewish world conspiracy. Okay, this is the article hold on, let me grab another quote, because there's a direct, here we go. I want to find so you can look up his beliefs about black people, it should be enough, but he did actually use, where is it? Allowed Roman Catholics as members, 13 Jews. See, two economists. Okay, good, because a lot of these articles. And see, Marx wrote to Friedrich Engels, and this is a double whammy. He's talking about LaSalle. Yeah. The Jewish N-word LaSalle, who I'm glad to say is leaving at the end of the week, has happily lost another 5,000 tailors in an ill-judged speculation. The chap would sooner throw money down the drain than lend it to a friend, even though his interest in capital were guaranteed. That's from a letter Marx wrote to Friedrich Engels. Both of them loved throwing the N-word around. Karl Marx. Yeah, the MIA mark. Okay, as far as we know. A possible excuse for Marx would be that he was a man of his time, and that historical circumstances may have taken that into account. Indeed, because that word was used a lot. It was general. It was tacking it on to Jews was an interesting twist. That seems a leap. Yeah. Marx believed that one of the roots of his belief about capitalism being necessary for the building of socialism was that capitalism was the basis of slavery, and that slaves would be needed to sort of build the pyramid that would be a temple to socialism. So he believed up to a certain point that you would need slaves to do a lot of this work, and then but they wouldn't be white Northern European or Russian slaves, Slav slaves. He believed that they would be the lesser races. Of course, the Jacobin jumps to his defense, of course, and ultimately, one of the ones that comes up is that letter to. And by the way, if you say that in your letters, what do you say in your conversations? If you'll write it down, how frequently will you chit-chat it? Pyramids, when Egypt were built by paid workers. Yeah, that was his opinion of how you would do it. I'm using that as an analogy. Have you seen the Vice doc on Tate? No, because I knew all of it anyways, and he's gross, and I don't need to spend any time for fuck's sake. There's some people where I'm like, I never needed that person's existence in my fucking life to begin with, so I certainly don't need it now. And I'm happy to say that largely the Andrew Tate thing spiked and fell while we were all dealing with a lot of other genuine shit. Also, TYT, and I remember when I can Free Speech TV. Well, good for you, Robin. Thank you. I should do a Civics for Dummies course on YouTube, right? But the problem is I don't think you guys are dummies, and I talk too fast. There are a bunch of Civics for Dummies kind of YouTube channels, and I find them intolerable. Isn't Roland Martin TYT? He's got a show on there. He's not a regular on the They do that. They scoop people in and give them shows, as sidecars to fill out the day, which you would do on a network or whatever, but it's not the primary. The TYT network is different from the TYT, the Young Turks themselves, which is basically Chinkanana, which is really fucked up, and whatever the other hosts that occasionally come on, considering where the name the Young Turks came from and the fact that, and the Armenian genocide and the fact that Anne is Armenian, like all that shit. Like Ojeda, that's exactly right. One of the most frequent let's see. And then here's Trameau, quote, proved that the common Negro type is the degenerate form of a much higher one, a very significant advance over Darwin, Karl Marx, letter to Frederick Engels. Like both of them, here you go. Without slavery, North America, the most progressive of countries, would be transformed into a patriarchal country. Wipe out North America from the map of the world and you will have anarchy. The complete decay of modern commerce and civilization. Abolish slavery and you will have wiped America off the map of nations. Karl Marx, The Poverty of Philosophy. Let me see this part right here. That's the point he's trying to make. Like that goes in line with his whole, you need capitalism to build an industrial society. What he meant by what he was specifically talking about in those ideas, it would seem from the rest of his writings, is slavery. You need slaves to build the pyramid so the rest of us can live, on a even keel with everyone else. It's, the world becomes, the plane becomes flat once you build it high enough. Was he the last? No. I mean, there's a common anti-Jewish thread in Marxism that's incredibly sound. It was one of the weird issues with the relationship between Russia and Germany around the Second World War. The reason that they weren't kind of ready for the attack is because there was a generalized idea that one of the common enemies that they had was Jews, because the philosophy of the USSR was built on anti-Semitism. Mm-hmm. It's been 2,000 months, but and it seems like, interestingly enough, that Marx arguably, here you go. When you're writing stuff like that, 1843, on the works of Karl Marx, 1844, on the Jewish question, when you're talking about things in terms of that, like what do we do with these people? One of the reasons why he spends so much time on Jews, because of his idea, of course, that they are hucksters and that capitalism is basically a Jewish thing. You could argue that his hate of what he believed capitalism was all about was based in his anti-Semitism. That anti-Semitism was paramount to Marx's philosophy, and that that capitalism, his views on it, were actually below that. They were at the effect of, or that the Jews were the cause, and capitalism was a symptom of Jews. Not kidding. And so it makes sense. And the reason why he spoke kind of in passing about black people, the way, and by the way, Judaism as an idea and as a religion, and as people who, connected to it as through their family trees, anybody who didn't believe it in Marxist thinking was immediately not a Jew anymore. To a socialist, capitalism looks like slavery. And to most people in the world, their version of what they created and called socialism, and again, these are just names for systems, and it's hard to even like fathom what the fuck people mean even by capitalism these days, because there's a huge difference between being an oil baron that invests money and creates whatever businesses they want and wants control over them, which is kind of what you picture when you talk about it. And again, how much effort you put into your work to come away with a little extra that you can use for whatever you want, either to invest yourself or to make life better for yourself. Yeah, he had Jewish ancestry. I mean, at that point, you could trace that to just about anybody. And the interbreeding of the Europeans and all this stuff, it's like even fucking hard to track. Nobody cared unless they cared. That was the point. If you made the point that you were a Jew, that was what made you a Jew. If you ran from it, changed your name, and that was it, it was never spoken of again. And that's how a lot of times it happened when they would separate in those situations. But the reason he would talk kind of like about the Jews as a problem the way he did was because he viewed them as semi-equals, an opponent, a villain in his hero story, right? But black people and Asians, he kind of, they almost weren't worth the conversation. It was like talking about cattle. Marx talked about other races like they were cattle. And that's what he means when he's saying like the Jewish N-word of LaSalle. It's like him calling them, a herd cow or or a lamb to slaughter, livestock. Absolutely. He viewed them as livestock. So, yeah, Grace. Well, that was the back and forth of it. This is the twist. Was this the USSR only fought Hitler because of the territorial aspects of it. It wasn't an ideological problem. And one of the reasons that they were caught with their pants down in their fight against the Germans at one point for a while was because they were like, hey, I thought you were on our side. What do you think about the correspondence between Lincoln and Marx? Well, again, ultimately, what was the purpose now that if you look at Marx's writings, effectively, it seems he was trying to talk Lincoln off the edge of stopping slavery. Yeah, Mark Levin likes to call Democrats Marxist. I know, because they know it's a slam. And again, it's, people will get into defending the term more across the board. Even people who talk about capitalism will get all caught up defending the term without actually defining what they mean by the term. And again, most of what Republicans call socialism in the United States is democratic taxation, not a fucking socialist element to it. Even unemployment insurance, you're paying into it. It's just set up by the government, but you're still paying in and getting it out. Or we all pay it, and then if some people get laid off, and that's to keep the economy stable. It's for the benefit of everybody, not just the person who's getting the check, right? So they don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. And it's interesting that people who want to defend things like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, early childhood education, public schools, public libraries, and that kind of stuff, think that they have to defend socialism to do it because they're the same thing, and they're fucking not. They're just not. We, as a democratic country that takes taxes, have a say, and that's what taxation without representation. That was what the whole fight was about. Because the idea of taking taxes to build roads and stand armies and provide for a damming of a river or any of that shit, that was all done during authoritarian and monarchical systems for centuries. That wasn't new. The only difference was you didn't have a say. Only the king had a say. And nobody says that fucking King George was a fucking socialist because he stood an army and he, dammed a river so that you could have more farmland. He did that because it made the country more wealthy and therefore himself more wealthy. But the people had no say. Yeah, taxation goes back to, forever. I mean, taxes is meant to build infrastructure. It's meant for a lot of things. Because if you build an infrastructure but you don't have an army to protect it and somebody else wants it, then what do? Give them your bridges? Give them your dams and your power plants? right? I mean, if you believe that nobody's ever going to try and take your shit, I don't think, I mean, I'm sure anybody who tells me that, you know, we don't need national security, or we don't need cops, or we don't need, I'm like, you're the same person who in your pocket as you're walking away from your car double hits the button to make sure you locked it. So don't start. Let's talk like humans and try to figure out a situation where you can make it better. I'm a Jeffersonian, am I? What makes me a Jeffersonian? Because we live in a system that Jefferson crafted? Is that what it is? Aren't you then? It's just how it works. Taxes make the world civil. Yeah, that's right. Because it also means you're invested. Again, that's one of the reasons why the word equity instead of equality is making the rounds. They're going to, anything that sounds like equal is going to freak the right out. So, you know, originally equality was a word, but they were always like, they made equality of outcome. And that's not, you can't do that. And in reality, what you mean is, you know, equality of opportunity. Everybody has the right. I'm definitely a George Jeffersonian. I think so too. I am moving on up. The age of imperialism should be over by now. It's not. We're not in that business anymore. The UK is not in that business anymore. And corporations are hindered by the rules of the countries that they set up shop in. And since they set up shop in stable countries for the most part, if they want to succeed for very long without having their, you know, without being toppled, they have to behave by the rules that we set up. And so they can't, they're, you know, the Planet Starbucks idea, which everybody was, you know, the joke in Fight Club, it is very difficult. Yeah. So, so the issue, though, ultimately, that we're trying to make that point is that in Marx's use of the N-word, he was looking at the lesser races, and he was a Darwinist ultimately. And again, that's, you can only, if you want to jumpstart what is effectively communism, there is no other answer but Darwinism. You have to wipe out the useless eaters. And by the way, like, you never expect Hal to read your comment, and it happens, Mozart. It does. It's interestingly enough, it's where the far right and the far left find our unfortunate bedfellows and shock each other with their comfort with certain people just gotta go. And that is, in many ways, the most stark area where I part with any political extremes in that regard, and what kind of pushes me towards the center and a seeking of balance that kind of, you know, makes me easy to vilify by those crowds. And that's where you hear establishment and blah, blah, blah. And it's because the end, how can Hal read our comments and think at the same time? It's work, I got to tell you. Nikki is an N-word. It is, but it's a good one. It's an N name, which is different. But you need not do it. Nature does it for us. But yeah, K-Link, they have a specific group of people oftentimes that they think have to be out of the way. So actually, Republicans are the Marxists. There's an argument there. I mean, there's an argument that was where the overlap came. Because again, if you wanted to establish a political system, right? You want to establish a system where you take over a system that's better than you or stronger than you, and you're definitely ice skating uphill. Do you attack it's like right-handed boxers versus left-handed boxers. If you know that they're defended against the right side and they're southpaws because their right jab is really hard, I fight southpaw and I'm right-handed. So I have a tendency, because my jabs are sometimes harder than my bigger punches, and it's a wear-down strategy in boxing. Different than street fighting, which I would switch. So if you're looking at who you're trying to attack, you're going to look at what's their dangerous part. You're never going to be able to meet head to head whatever their strongest part is. So what you do is you weaken it over time by infiltrating it. You can either hyper block their strong lead hand and you start kind of hit them on the arm, so that their good arm gets tired and eventually they're having to do this and they're left with just the weak arm. That's essentially what your 20-year strategy would be if you're using the Matt Taibbis of the world and the Glenn Greenwalds of the world and the Jimmy Dores of the world. They don't even have to know they're in on it. They just, because you find most of these assholes are egotists that believe they deserve to be at the front of the line. That's one of the keys of finding a useful idiot like Donald Trump, and you'll notice that it's across the board. Whoever the attack point is, the easiest person to spot is someone with a weak and fragile ego, but sort of that narcissistic personality disorder, that low self-esteem where they need to be there, but they were born like Tucker Carlson with a silver spoon in their mouth. They believe they deserve ahead of time to be at the front of the line. And by the way, this applies to like Kanye, or folks like that would believe like black supremacist ideas of the Moors and all that shit, that they're the real Jews, and that American blacks are native, are Cherokee and East Indian people. That whole shit from the Blacks for Trump people. There's a certain type of egotist in the black community that will find their way to the front of that, thinking, "Oh, I'm the chosen person." How could be Spock if he smoked a dab, right? So watch for that. Yeah, watch for people who who are very curious. In that, there are some people where it's almost your idea that they deserve to be at the front of the line. And you look at them and you're like, fuck. Like John, this is why JFK Jr. is a perfect like QAnon placeholder, is because he's so handsome and he comes from this family and his father was so important to the country and he was taken and blah, blah, blah. You could be Ye's vice president, right? No, he would never. I would only be the vice president of someone who would take my counsel. I believe Joe Biden was right about that. I'm the last person in the room. I don't want to be the last person in the room with Kanye West. Also, I'm not going to call him Ye. What the fuck is wrong with you? The world, you can't force your nickname on people. I don't understand that. So that always bothered me. That's another conversation for another time. No. Hey, call me Slim. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? I don't understand that. Your name's Kanye. You can't just make up. I'm P. Diddy now. I just got used to calling you Puff Daddy, and I think that's ridiculous. What's your name? Owen. All right. Well, I see why you need a nickname. But I'll just call you Hey Man, and we'll just settle it at that. Is that okay? Anyways, fuck's sake. So you will find and this is a good one. Like Greenwald's very much this. Trump is very much this. Matt Taibbi, these guys who do not look the part of the part they think they were born to play. You're like, wait a minute, this motherfucker thinks he's God's gift to women? Those people in particular are perfect targets to be artificially boosted in the world of media, social media, journalism, or whatever, to carry water for somebody awful. Yeah, what's wrong with Sean, too white? It's a bit harsh, and it's good. Yeah, the pseudo-left is full of those folks. People who think they're funnier than they are, smarter than they are, better looking than they are, and are on a pathological level, joking about it or being silly about it. Come on. If you can joke about it or be silly about it, then you don't actually believe it. If you have to defend it like Trump does in an awkward sense, then you're the perfect target. So pay attention to people like that. Like, look at somebody and go, well, like Ted Nugent. And a lot of times, by the way, it also happens to aging people who used to be, for whatever reason, getting more attention, sex, money, whatever, than they thought they deserved at the time, got used to it, and then went on a hard fade because age catches up to us all. And Ted Nugent's a great example of that. There was a period where Ted Nugent was having a party every night and could do no wrong and got away with everything. And he doesn't know that that train left the station, and now he looks like his mom. And that's tough for him to deal with. Right, there you go. Your favorite president, me. That's, yeah, when Trump says that. So, yeah, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. Madonna, Cher. Well, interestingly enough, I would put Cher and Madonna in different categories, because Cher is never, busy talking about how amazing she is, and Madonna comes from a different school in that. Kid Rock's a great example of that, absolutely, and a great target for no, man, you still got it, you're still the man, and you'll go towards anybody who still tells you that because you got addicted to that sensation early on. I was very lucky in that, like the 90s. When I could have been, I started working as an actor when I was 16 years old. If I'd have hit something, if something had caught, and I'd had a series from right after I left high school all the way through the mid 90s or some shit, I might be a different person. Ever so slightly. I mean, I think I was raised right. My parents are pretty cool, and I had good friends, and that helps a lot. And you just hang with people. I think being in a little one-road town and seeing people fall by the wayside over life kind of keys you up for some of this shit in a way. But hey, look what happened to Elvis. So by the 90s, make me have to like drag this fucking bag of rocks behind me all the time. I just had a kind of, all right, there's nothing, this ain't magic. I have to, whatever I get, I'm gonna have to work for. And I'm gonna have to keep showing people that I'm worth it, because there's no guarantee, right? You don't get to climb the ladder and stand on the top. Thanks, Captain Turp. I try. Friends don't make their actors millions. Yes, it does. No question. And some of them have had really rough lives and really hard times having real relationships because of it. And by the way, that pilot that I did with Marta Kaufman and David Crane, Reality Check, was the same month they did the pilot for Friends, and Friends took off and Reality Check did not. And Reality Check was a one-camera show. I did a pilot on that one, and it was really fun. It was terrific, but it was obviously like Friends, boom, this show went sorry, and amongst a bunch of other things. And I had a bit, like a small recurring part that would have been like I'd show up as a comic relief moment in several episodes if it had gone, that kind of thing. But the path of those two things is extraordinary, in your life and what it would have done and all that kind of stuff. So I sorry, I always look at the people who went through that and go, all right, what's that like? What's that tornado like when you're not mature enough to handle it, right? And then keep in mind, I don't know, how the fuck old is Taibbi? Is anyone I don't know, probably no. Hold on. He is 52. So yeah, he's a year younger than me. He's born in 1970. So we're basically the same age. Dude was in Russia when he was 22 years old. For 5 fucking years after the fall of the USSR, with the shit that was going on in Russia, and by the way, was not fighting as a revolutionary or pushing back against fucking capitalists or whatever the fuck. He was a sports journalist for the Moscow Times. He played professional baseball in Uzbekistan and Russia, and professional basketball in Mongolia. In 97, he moved back to Russia to edit the tabloid Living Here, eventually left to co-edit the rival tabloid The Exile. If you can't beat him, join him, I guess. And he came back to the United States in 2002 and founded The Beast, and he left a year later to work as a columnist for the New York Press, basically chasing the left-leaning reader-type rags in the United States. Yeah. So this dude was 22 fucking years old, the same age, that like the cast of Friends was when they got their show. And imagine how that affected whether they could have relationships, whether they use drugs, how they handled it. Sounds a lot like Tate. Absolutely, Mark. Yeah, 22 to 27 in Russia and Mongolia fucking partying with Russians. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh, will I be on later? No, it's Saturday. I don't do an afternoon Saturday show. And Summer and I are driving to LA, I think, tonight. Later, or maybe ass in the morning. So we'll see. Probably ass in the morning. I think we're leaving really early tomorrow. But since we had so much gobbledygook at the beginning, I'm kind of going along. If that's okay. If you got anybody got to go anywhere, you're welcome to head out. And thank you. And by the way, like and subscribe. This show isn't normally like this. I'm just adding a little extra time. But you're going to tell me that a 22-year-old male who jokes like he jokes and talks like he talks at that time, hanging out in fucking Russia for fucking 5 years. Well, no, more than that. 10 years, because he came back in 2002. Dude spent 10 years of his formative years in Moscow and then in Mongolia and whatever the fuck. Was a freelance report. Started as a freelance reporter working in the former Soviet Union, including a period in Uzbekistan, where he was deported for criticizing Islam Karimov. Taibbi later worked as a sports journalist for the English. Yeah. So even before that, yeah. In Brunswick, New Jersey. Yeah, and in the early 90s, he moved from St. Petersburg to Tashkent, Uzbekistan, where he began selling news articles more regularly. He deported in 1992 for writing an article for the Associated Press that was critical of President Islam Karimov. At the point of his deportation, Taibbi was starting left fielder for the Uzbek national baseball team. I guess it doesn't, like yellow journalism doesn't pay well in Uzbekistan in the early 90s. Yeah, it just says early 90s too. Like, you can't put a fucking date in there. This is just from his Wikipedia too. He moved to Russia in 92, so he was there before the fall. He was in Uzbekistan before the fall of the Soviet Union. Yep. And wrote a bi-weekly free newspaper. I suppose you could live on ad rev for years. I'm just saying. Is he currently in the U.S.? Yes, he is. And so the idea that, again, what compromise could possibly exist, I don't know, but ask Scott Ritter. Because there's some hinky shit. Yeah. I personally never did like the show Friends. It's fine. Again, you don't have to like it. That's the thing about comedy and sitcoms. You're not required to actually have an opinion on it at all. It's very freeing. Oh, that's cute, Julie's. That's really cute. It's very sweet. He has a tattoo of Putin on his butt. Get out of here. Kenneth, thank you. How you're down to earth, a real person doing the Lord's work, spreading the truth and shedding light in the dark place of the world. Supporters love you and support you because of this. Support is growing each day. God bless you. Oh, thank you, Kenneth. Holy smokes. Bless you. It means a lot. Like, I never thought this show would become a thing, and now it has. It's raining here till Monday in LA. I know. Yeah. I hope it stops because Summer and I are going to Disneyland. I'll listen to you at work. Oh, Michael, thank you. Pay attention. Get your hands back on the wheel. I don't know what you're doing at work, so hopefully you're not working a turret lathe or one of those giant smelting pots at a foundry. Who spilled lava all over the... We got a new rule. Nobody listens to Sparks while they're working the turret lathe, okay? All right. It is, Pablo. That's why we can only go once a year. It's more for her. Are we hunting for the Mickey ears? We've seen all of them. I think we've caught all of them but one, I think. So there you go. We get a 2-day pass and then that's it. Turd lathe. That's different. Turret. Turning late. Never mind. John Idarola. It's interesting that you can tell that like Idarola definitely benefits, name recognition wise and financially from being on the Young Turks. But there's been he seems to have been slowly, and maybe it's just finally getting his own show that gives the illusion of this, but distancing himself from Cenk and Anna a little bit. And he fills in on that when one of them is out. But unless they're doing some sort of panel on election night or something, he's, it seems like, and again, I don't watch it all that much because I know what the conclusion is. Ultimately, don't vote until we pretend to tell you to vote for the person that we've been telling you all year is not just the wrong person, but evil, murderous, villainous, neocon, killer of babies, blah, blah, blah. That's my theory anyways. I don't know any of those folks. I've only been on that show once. Long time ago. They do have a sweet studio in Culver City, though. The area is nice. The studio itself is, if they're still in the same one, I don't even know. They might have moved. I'm pretty sure it's the same place, though, because they were right. No, the power went out in Culver City, and they were bitching about California because a fucking transformer down the block blew, and somehow the governor should be responsible for every transformer in the entire fucking country. And if it happens to them, it's happening to all of California. Like, that was fucking stupid. How did Vince Gill save my life? Oh, you want to hear that story again? All right. For those of you that didn't tell, I'll tell that in 1 second. So yeah, I like that. That's their studio. And it's basically like, it's like an office building, one of those like kind of concrete 2-story office buildings, and they're like upstairs, I think. And there's like a little newsroom with like 4 or 5 desks and some snacks. And then the main newsroom is in like a third of the big upstairs. Like they built a wall and that's that. With the background, and that's where most of the magic happens or whatever. I remember being underwhelmed considering the money that they have by the space. But then of course you don't really need more. Again, minimum viable product, I suppose. Yeah, it's Newsom's fault that the fucking transformer blew in the rain. Jesus Christ. There's still a gaggle of good heads at TYT. Yeah, they rotate through. Again, they need them to bait people into what they're selling. That's the point. It wouldn't work if they didn't have a couple of people you like saying a couple of things you like every so often. Or like, it's like old Hulk episodes. Unless he turns into the Hulk twice an episode, you lose interest. So you got to have that bringing people in, and then the rest of the story is what they're really making you hold on through the commercials for. So, Vince Gill. So, Vince Gill's been a friend of my family's for my whole life. And I think at the time he was not a solo artist yet. He was still in Pure Prairie League, and he was getting married to his first wife, and they were doing it in California. And he was in California, and he called my family. He called my dad, and forgot about the time change. And it was 9 o'clock where he was, midnight where we were, and it might shock you to find out, as a little kid, was quite a reader. I didn't have a television until I was 15 years old, till I moved to Chicago, 14 and a half. We didn't have a TV in the house. Well, that's not true. We had a TV, it just didn't work. There was no signal. We lived behind a hill. There was no satellite. There was no cable. There was just static. Sometimes, on certain days, I could turn on the TV and listen to it like radio, but the hissing from the screen and it was terrible. So occasionally I would, I mostly listened to the radio, albums, and read. And so I was reading in bed, and it was my lamp I had. I was trying to, basically I was trying to read in bed, but the lamp I had was too far away. So I took the lamp and I put it on the bed, and it didn't have a shade on it. It was just a bulb. So I'm reading by light bulb in my bed, and I fell asleep, and it fell over on the bed, burned through the the blanket, burned through the sheets, burned through the comforter or through the top of the mattress, and set the inside of the mattress on fire. So my bed caught fire while I was laying in it. And it basically became like a funeral pyre. It just went whoa, like that. Yes, it was KYT. That's the only thing I could hear when I would occasionally do it. So my bed was on fire. The only phone in our house was hanging on the kitchen wall. We only had one phone in the house. And if we'd had two phones, I'd be dead. And you never would have met me. But we had one phone. It was in the kitchen. And in the kitchen, it was right next to the door that was, because our house was an old log cabin. It was a church during the Civil War. And it was one room. And then the other rooms had been added onto it years later. And where the phone was, to pick up the phone and use it, if you look that way, you could see straight through the living room and through my bedroom door. My sister's room was across from me. It was like we had two little rooms. And mine was directly that way. If I'd have lived in my sister's room, I'd be dead right now. But I lived in this, I was in this room. And largely because of the door to the outside and the fact that the sump pump for the house was in my closet. And so every so often when we would run out of water, because we had our water shipped in by the city once a month, and if you ran out, and that was that. If somebody tried to flush the toilet and the pump just started going, they'd have to run into my room, throw everything out of my closet, lift this like this little trap door in the closet and turn off the sump pump so we wouldn't have to reprime it once they put water in. And then the rest of the time, the rest of the month, whenever the fuck that was, you'd have to poop in the creek or pee off the porch. And so, or bring water in from the creek, pour it in the top of the toilet so it would still flush. So we'd use creek water in the top of the toilet to make it flush. Okay, so anyways, true story, all of it. So it was a blast. And also the door to my room that went outside that they didn't want my sister to have on her room because she's a girl and I guess nobody abducts boys. But also there was supposed to be a porch built off of it, but there wasn't. So the door just opened and it was like a 3.5 foot drop to rocks. So the door was basically always locked, but it was there. And so I fall asleep, my bed catches fire, and I'm sleeping on a funeral pyre. And apropos of nothing, Vince Gill, Country Music Award winning Vince Gill, decides at that moment to pick up the phone and call my dad, and forgets that it's 9 o'clock where he is, but it's midnight where we are, and wakes both of my parents up in the middle of the night with a ringing phone. And back then, there was no such thing as an answering machine. Had there been an answering machine, I would be dead now and you wouldn't know me. And both my parents got up and went to the phone. My dad picked it up, went, hello? Hey, Vince, how you doing? And he went like that, and he went, Vince, can you hang on a second? HAL's on fire. And he put the phone down because they were going to go back to the call, by the way. He was on the phone. You don't hang up on a friend. At that point, didn't smell the smoke, literally saw the fire. At that moment, by the way, at the time the phone rang, and that might have been what woke me up as well, I woke up and looked around and I could see like the sides of the mattress curling with fire. And a spring that was in it went boop and popped through at that moment and burned my arm right here. And if you ever meet me, I'll show you. But this skin right here is a burn. It's forever. It's still got like really giant pores and really giant. Like you can tell the texture is different from the rest of my skin. And it's like right now it's about that big around, which on my arm at the time was almost my entire arm. And it went like that and burned my arm. And I woke up and my room had two exposed rafters. And I literally like popped up, jumped up and grabbed the rafter and monkey bars my way to the next one and jumped down as my dad and mom were running in the room. My mom My dad unplugged the lamp, which was still plugged in. He ran around the other side of it, and he yelled at my mom to get some oven mitts. My dad is a very smart man. Get some oven mitts. And my mom ran and got all the oven mitts and brought them back in. And my dad and I put on oven mitts, and he opened the door, and we both took the burning mattress, holding oven mitts, and turned it up this way and shoved it through the door. And he was doing most of the work because he was 6'2", and I was like 4'11" and weighed 45 pounds, 4'6". Yeah, and weighed 41 pounds at that time. And shoved it out in the driveway. And then we had to jump down, and both of us had to drag it to the driveway, which was gravel, so it wouldn't burn any of the grass or any of that stuff. And then we just watched my mattress burn up. And then my dad went, "Oh, Vince is on the phone." And then they both went in, and they talked to Vince for about a half an hour. And I slept on the couch. And it was for about a month. And then, I don't know where we got a new mattress, but it wasn't new. And we replaced the mattress somehow later. And so that is the story of how Vince Gill saved my life. And scene. That's a true story. All of every slice of that fucking story, every piece of it is an absolute irrefutable fact that both my parents and my sister and Vince Gill himself will, the details have been gone over so many times that we know them all by rote. Yep. Yeah, so thank God for Vince Gill. Yeah, it was a flea market. You're absolutely right. So thanks to Vince. And the timing of the burn and the phone ringing being so loud and all that stuff. But he was calling to invite them to his wedding in California. And they went. Have I seen Lucas Kuntz's? Yes, I have. It's great. The one of him running and tripping. It's great. Of Josh Hawley. Yes, Amy Grant is married to Vince. And they're very happy and lovely. Vince should put Pure Prairie League back together. I think that would be difficult. I think a bunch of them have passed. I'm not sure. But yeah. Dark Gill. Yes. So we all appreciate Vince Gill. And then they left HAL alone. Well, hey, one of the things about me as a kid is that, yes, I went through some shit. Definitely experienced some things. I did not get to go. I didn't go to California at the time. I never went until I was 16 years old. Yes, Vince is still married. That's right. He's plays with the Eagles. That's true. Let Me Love You Tonight was Ralph. Yeah. But I learned my lesson. That's the one thing you can say about me. If something like that, I was like the most trustworthy kid to have at home, and not because I was like afraid of everything and batting down every hatch because I was afraid the world was full of monsters or whatever. But I was like, it only had to happen once. Did I go to the ER for my arm? No, my mom is a nurse. She wrapped it, and I basically passed out from the adrenaline. But it was a 3rd-degree burn. It was all sizzly. You could see muscle. I wouldn't look at it because I was little, so I was like, But my mom had we all. The good thing about the Sparks household is that we always had plenty of medical devices and bandages and ointment and whatever around because my mom worked for a doctor and worked at a hospital. So we always had plenty of gauze. We always had plenty of like ankle wraps and stuff like that. That by the way, other people in Peaks Mill didn't have. So a lot of times, if somebody had a bandage they need changed, they would drive over and my mom would do it. Sorry, Emily Angel. I was telling. They asked me the story. Yeah, it's my only tattoo. That's right. That's my burn on there. And I'm dead serious. If you ever come up and you want to see it, you'll be able to tell. Now as I have to say. For being 53, I think my skin is doing pretty darn good. Especially, I appreciate when, I forget who it was in particular. There was one particular troll for a while who was like, go have another facelift. And I was like, aw, that's sweet. Look, I have naturally full lips, and I've never had a facelift. And again, I'm not even against it. I just figure I'd save it to when I needed one, right? But anyways, but my skin has held up pretty well. So you can still tell the difference. I look more like George Hamilton all the time. I should just get a super tan and then just do all of his parts again. Eat some meat. I do eat meat. Oh, thanks, Randy. Yeah. I thought it was collagen. I do take collagen supplements. Yeah. Not regularly though. I think that's part of the trick. I think that might be part of the trick. Is that, you know how they always say you have to take like 500 milligrams of this or a gram of this a day, or make sure you get that. I don't know. I think bodies are seasonal, and I feel like there's an ebb and flow. And that's like, if you ever listen to like dudes who do steroids, they always talk about cycling. You know, cycling, get on it for a while and then you have to get off of it because that's how it works. I think the same thing is true of like supplements. I think your body can probably, get used to almost anything. So take your time. Yes, men can moisturize too. I do moisturize. That is true. Isn't collagen like fat? Not quite. Yes. Looking good, Rooster. Thanks. Here they come to snuff the rooster. Yeah. Yes, I could do a Zorro the Gay Blade reboot. People would go crazy. The mattress died. It just died in the driveway. And by the way, it was there for a while. It was like a monument to my fuck up. And it was, it was good because every day I would go out and I would look at, I'd walk, because I had to walk up our long, crazy ass driveway to catch the bus. And you stand in the fucking snow at the end of the driveway. Country kids, I swear to God, there are two versions of tough kids, Midwest, Northeast especially, in this, that just have I don't know if it's a pain tolerance or just a resilience that's born out of this particular activity. But where you live in the country and your driveway is a fucking mile long because you live off the road, and you have to like walk in the cold and stand out there and be there early for the fucking bus, and you're just all bundled up and you're fucking just. What if my lips start drooping? Would I consider filler? No, I don't think so. I really don't, and I don't think they will, because my lips are largely muscle. I don't think my lips have any collagen in them at all. I think it's just my silly rubber-faced bullshit that I do. Because I've shown this before, but I don't know if you can see it on the inside. Maybe I'll have to go closer or whatever. See how I can flex the bottom of my lip? I don't think that's collagen or anything. I think my lips are just solid muscles at this point. I think it's a comedian thing. It's super weird, I know. It is creepy. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for noticing. I'm giving you lip, yes. Yeah, 70% of you is collagen. I feel like it, yes. I do have Mick Jagger lips, it's true. And I have a habit of curling in my upper lip that's lifelong because my lips relaxed are rather big and hard to, like, as far as conversing, like it made me have a little bit of a tooth whistle. So I learned over time to kind of bring my upper lip down. But yeah, anyways, long as it's stupid. I don't even know why we're having this conversation. This is what happens when things go on. You know that theory that people are afraid to do stand up because I'll go up there and I'll freeze. I'm afraid of public speaking. I'll go up there and I'll freeze. That's not what people are really afraid of. You know that, right? They're not really afraid. What they're afraid of is they'll go up there, the silence will be overwhelming, and they'll just start like yammering. Do I play the sax? I do. It was my second instrument. But most people go up there and they're like, I like feet. I like rubbing them and touching them. I like the smell of them. What am I saying? I got to talk. Okay, I must speak. Like, whatever. They're going to tell everything about their lives, right? Thanks very much. It's good. Women do call it kissable lips. How did you know? Yeah, alto sax. I wanted baritone, but what are you going to do? Then the tuba, yes. I'm on fire, totally. More documents found in Biden's library. Well, no, not today. That's the same one. And basically, it was just they did a search of the house. One location. The house and the garage. They just went through everything. Anywhere they might have boxes or anything in storage or anything filed, they were like, go through everything, see if you find anything, and make sure we turn it back in. It's a good point. Like, they literally, you could tell the timing of it when they had the meeting, and they're like, if you find any of this stuff, by the way, we're going to turn it right over. And, some stuff might be out there because God knows it was so much work and so much stuff and so many things, and assistants bringing stuff and undersecretaries dropping things off and having files, and some stuff might qualify or not qualify. So they went, let's look at everything. And they did. The Corvette, Greg Kelly is so jealous. He totally is. Are muscle lips better than a long time? I don't know, because I have both. You're like David Bowie Jones. He plays the guitar and sax. It's true. You mean David Jones? Davy Jones from the Monkees? Mm-hmm. Favorite hair band of all time. My hair. Can HAL Len? What? I don't know. I didn't quite catch that. Oh, yeah, it's hard. Love Eddie Money. Eddie Money is the greatest example of cocaine writing your lyrics for you. Is HAL single? No, I'm not. I'm in a relationship. I have been for a long time. Oh, Van Halen. I see. Gotcha. I missed it was dropped down another level. Yes. What instrument have I played that I would like to? Bagpipes. I have some. And when I found out I was Scottish, I bought some bagpipes. And so I want to learn the bagpipe. But it might not be surprising to find out that it's difficult to find local bagpipe teachers in LA or Vegas. I'm sure they exist. And it's also harder for people to like teach and not annoy the entire house. Have I met Sting? I have not. If I ever lose my faith in you. I love my favorite Sting story is that the drummer of the Police literally positioned his cymbals so he wouldn't even have to look at him on stage when they toured together. I'm like, hey, solve your problems your way. Anyways, okay, I'll let you guys go. Otherwise, I'm going to be on all day, and you guys know it. I know what I'm being baited. I know what's happening here. I know. Yeah, I want to learn to play. Honest to God, I want to learn to play the Uilleann flute, which is the smaller version of the bagpipes that were in the Braveheart soundtrack. Oh my God! So if you learn bagpipes, you can play that as well. So that was kind of like 2 in 1. Bagpipes are an instrument of war. Do you ever know the story about how the Scots won one of their biggest battles against the English when they didn't have enough people? The English showed up with like 1,000 soldiers, and the Scots only had 200. So they set the date of like 3 days from now we will meet on the hustings. That whole thing, and they 2 days before the battle, they got all the pipe players and all the drummers in the area to start marching towards the place, playing as they came, and by the time they arrived, the English had left because they thought, holy shit, if the band is that big, imagine how many soldiers are coming. Yeah. Uilleann. Yeah, oh, thanks. The Uilleann flute. Nice. I always spelled it like I spoke it as it was spelled. Thank you, Nomad. I appreciate that. Yes. Yeah, I've heard the sound live. Your bones will shake. Exactly. Parade procession bagpipers. That's a good idea. You gotta go. I gotta go too. I got stuff to do. I got I have a life too. You guys might not believe it, but it's one of the reasons why I only do one show on Saturday. All right, and it's almost We almost gone 2 hours. All right, I'm going to let you guys go. I love you. Thank you. Don't forget to give a thumbs up on your way out the door, especially if you like these Ask Me Anything versions. And yeah, I'm sorry, Kathleen. I got it. It's a Midwestern goodbye, not a Western goodbye. A Western goodbye is like freeze. You know. Anyways, much love. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. Thumbs up. Yes, thumbs up. Anyway, did you do it? Did you do it? You can do it. It's right there. Subscribe. All the stuff I forget to say when I'm on for a fucking hour, and I should. Oh, Lord. I swear to God, though, you guys laugh, but this is going to be the beginning of my Reverend Gene Scott period, where I just sit in a rocking chair yammering for hours online. And it will be all your fault. Okay. All right. Yeah, I know. I went 2 hours over because I felt bad about the first hour because it was such a clusterfuck. Even from the Chicago side, even though I did talk about a lot of good stuff, it was still filled with the normalcy of it. Just my brain was distracted with trying to solve their problem for them. So anyways, love you guys. See you soon. See you Monday. And where I will be doing a short show in the morning and a regular show in the afternoon. Tuesday might not be a show depending on, because I have sound check. But Wednesday should be all good. And yeah. Wish me luck. Okay. It's a lot. Travel's always a rough one. Maybe that's why I stayed around. You'll have plenty to watch. Trust me. Okay. Love you. Bye.
Excellent.